The NCAA FCS Championship quarterfinals presented on ESPN by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. This afternoon we're inside Kidd Brewer Stadium in Boone, North Carolina. Appalachian State, the #1 seed, takes on the defending national champs, the Villanova Wildcats. Hi everybody, along with John Congemi, a former Pitt quarterback. I'm Mike Gleason. As always, it's great to have you with us. And John, it's tough to beat the Mountaineers here in Boone. They've won 55 of the last 58 games inside the stadium. Well, the Wildcats went down to Texas and put 54 on Stephen F. Austin last week. Andy Talley, the head coach of the Wildcats, said, at this level, it doesn't get any better than this.
Well, Mike, it's all about championships when you talk about these two teams, and Appalachian State winning 3 straight in 05, 06, and 07. And then the Villanova Wildcats, the defending FCS champions. Similar styles on both of these teams. Both of them like to play physically. Whoever's the most physical just might win this football game.
App State comes in 10-2. It's the first time in 4 years that Armani Edwards is not at the quarterback controls. So the first game of the season, DeAndre Presley took over. They went to Chattanooga, Tennessee. They were down 21-7 in the fourth quarter. Presley rallied the troops. They pulled out a 42-41 win, and hence 42 points against Western Illinois last week in the playoff game here in Boone. And Presley, he's just all-everything quarterback now.
Mike, arguably, he's the fastest athlete on the football field. He had a career day last week against Western Illinois. He accounted for 311 total yards. He had a career-high 264 on the ground. And throwing the football, he accounted for 3 touchdowns totally. And he's got velocity on his football. He can go outside. He can throw it from within the pocket. He accounts for 19 touchdowns throwing it and only 6 interceptions. But he's going to make his money on the ground, in between the tackles, on the edge. As he goes and he runs the football, so go the Mountaineers on offense.
Villanova comes in at 8-4, but early in the season, they lost their star player, Matt Caesar, to a high ankle sprain. He missed 7 ball games, but deeper in the season, they were upset by Rhode Island, 17-14. Then a rare home loss to New Hampshire, so they had to close out the season, beat the #1 team in the country, Delaware, at Delaware. They did it in overtime, and hence they're in the playoffs, and they're led by a quarterback by the name of Chris Whitney.
They're led by their quarterback as well, and he did a great job last week on the road against Stephen F. Austin, down 21-7 in the first quarter. Whitney found a way to bring them back. He completed 21 passes for 222 yards and a career-high 4 touchdowns. Now, both of these quarterbacks like to run the football, but different styles. Chris Whitney weighs 250 pounds. He's not looking to get on the edge and run out of bounds. He's going to lower his shoulder and knock somebody out. Both quarterbacks will be huge today. Whoever can pick up the yards on the ground and make more plays in the pocket will win this game.
Both quarterbacks have thrown for more than 2,000 yards. They both have completed more than 60% of their passes. The winner today will take a step closer to another potential national championship. Kickoff is coming up. To Kidd Brewer Stadium in Boone, North Carolina, as the Mountaineers of Appalachian State, 3-time champions, as John mentioned, 05, 06, 07. They take on Villanova. The Wildcats trying to defend that title. And John, App State has won the toss, and instead of deferring, they're going to take the football and try to put some points on the board.
Well, Mike, I think I would too, because you have an exciting quarterback in DeAndre Presley, and you want to get him on the field. So I know head coach Jerry Moore wants to get that offense on the field and be aggressive with their offense and try to get an early lead against a very stingy Villanova defense.
And Jerry Moore in his 22nd year. If he wins today, it'll be his 200th win here at App State. And as you see, the redshirt freshman Roger Walker from Thomasville, Georgia, he is the deep man, ready to receive the kick. And the Wildcats, as we mentioned, they had to get into the playoffs by beating Delaware in the final game of the regular season. They did it in overtime at Delaware. Went down to Stephen F. Austin and put 54 points on the board. Beat a very good Stephen F. Austin team 54-24. This is Nick Yako, the sophomore from Cleveland, Ohio, out of St. Ignatius High School. And this quarterfinal matchup is underway. Walker takes it inside the 5-yard line. Leads his way through traffic up over the 25. He's going to be dropped near the 28-yard line. And that's where the Mountaineers of Appalachian State will take over after the 26-yard return. And first chance to check out DeAndre Presley.
We talked about DeAndre Presley in the open, about his speed and probably the fastest guy on the field, but it's his decision-making from the pocket, and when he runs that speed option, the zone play, he will carry out his fake, so it's very difficult to tell if the running back has the football or DeAndre has it on the edge. You better guess right if you're Villanova on defense, because he can beat you with one play.
And Presley opening up from the shotgun. A cadet goes in motion. This is Devin Moore. They come out firing the football, and this one's complete. That's Ben Jordan, the big tight end out of Weddington, North Carolina. That's his 26th catch, and this time it goes for 13.
Nice job by Jordan. All he does is go down and hook up in the zone. He did a great job last week catching the football, and all season long a dependable target on the outside for his quarterback, Presley.
Last week in the snow, these Mountaineers ran it 59 times for 417 yards. 7 pass attempts, the fewest in 38 postseason games for Appalachian State. Presley with the shotgun again. The quick pitch, far side. This is Cadet at the midfield stripe. And he's in Wildcat territory before Martell Mooney runs him out of bounds. 15 more yards. Tavares Cadet, the junior out of Miami, he's got some wheels.
You can see the speed already on the outside by Tavares Cadet. He gets the pitch very quick, and nice decision by Presley on the option. But if he gets on the edge, it could be good night. He has that type of speed on the outside.
Presley's rushed for over 1,000 yards this year. He's thrown for 2,270. About 62%, but they're going to keep it on the ground. It's Cadet again. Cadet's got some running room, and he's going to take it to the house. This one, 46 yards, touchdown. Cadet picks up his 6th rushing touchdown this year. And John, he's quite the story.
And Mike, that's too easy. Cadet gets lost in the shuffle in the middle of the tackles, and he bounces inside and goes right down the middle of the field for a touchdown. That's a nice run on the outside to set up that play, but Cadet just bouncing like a pinball inside those big fellas.
And Jason Viteris on for the PAT, drills it through. 3 plays, 72 yards in just a minute 12. That's kind of their MO, scoring quickly.
Scoring quickly. Appalachian State does it with quickness, and they do it with their athletes. Presley on the outside, but Cadet 2 big runs on that drive. You see him inside, a good fake on the inside. They have him bottled up, does Villanova, but he just squirts in the inside and goes the distance for Appalachian State. That's just a quick strike offense. That's what they're known for all season long. Their speed, their agility on the edge, but this time down the middle of the football field for 6 points.
And I said, interesting story. Cadet always wanted to play quarterback in college, and if he started playing running back or receiver earlier, he'd probably be a Florida Gator.
Well, he was recruited by Urban Meyer to go to be a Gator, and he wanted to play a different position. He wanted to be, strictly an athlete coming here to Appalachian State. And Jerry Moore talked to us yesterday. Their head coach said it was the running back Cadet that kept calling us. He recruited us onto this football team, and all we wanted to do was see tape on Cadet. Well, we saw 10 plays. That was enough.
It was after that big win over Michigan.
Yeah, that's right.
He was at Toledo at the time, and he kept calling Coach Moore saying, "Hey, Coach, it's Cadet.
How about a look?"
Well, he takes it to the house from 46, and Appalachian State takes the early lead. Viteris now with the kick. And this one's going to be taken inside the 5. Barbaro. And he's up over the 25, dropped at the 26. Angelo Barbaro, the senior, out of Canfield, Ohio, a 23-yard return. And Patrick Blaylock brings him down.
And Chris Whitney will lead the Villanova Wildcats onto the football field. He's fought injuries the entire season. He had turf toe, he had a knee injury, an ankle, a bulging disc that really limited his productivity going into the season, but he's been productive getting over the injuries. 21 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, and he does it on the ground as well.
Last week, 473 yards of offense down at Stephen F. Austin. They keep it on the ground. Matt Caesar. We'll be talking a lot about number 4 here this afternoon. Caesar, he is their all-everything football player for the Wildcats.
Well, he's the big play guy on the outside. You'll see him line up at Wildcat. You'll see him in the kick return game. He'll line up at receiver. They want to get the football in number 4's hands.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him throw the football.
Yeah, that's true.
4 wideouts now for the Wildcats. 5 wideouts for the Cats here on second down. Whitney turns, fires near side, looking for Caesar, and he's drilled. Justin Ray, the sophomore from Covington, Georgia, coming up from his linebacker spot to make the hit.
Terrific recognition on the edge by Ray. He's going to come up from that strong safety position, that Sam linebacker, and deliver a vicious hit on the outside to Caesar, putting Villanova in a 3rd and long situation. This Appalachian State defense loves to pressure the line of scrimmage. That'll be a key today for them. Can they pressure and win the battle up front?
45% on 3rd down, 47% last week down in Texas against Stephen F. Austin. 5 wideouts on the field, 3rd and 11. Whitney, plenty of time, fires, has his man, and it's going to be a 1st down. And this one's complete to Norman White, who had 3 touchdowns last week against Stephen F. Austin. They pick up 16. Troy Sanders makes the tackle.
Terrific protection by this offensive line for the Wildcats. They give their quarterback, Chris Whitney, terrific time. Watch Whitney scan the field. He keeps stepping up in the pocket and does a nice job of putting it on the number of Norman White, right on the middle of that 8 for a good conversion on 3rd down.
Caesar out of the Wildcat, fires it, and it's complete. Kind of sidearmed it to Joe Price. And looked like a baseball player. He's a fantastic baseball player who played for the Cubs last summer, hit .347. He just kind of sidearmed it.
Yeah, that looked more like a shortstop or second baseman than a center fielder. Caesar's going to come right at us, and he's in that Wildcat position. He has the option of throwing it or running it on the edge and decides to sling it out on the last second for about a 4-yard gain.
2nd and 6 now for the Cats. Twins, the top of your screen. And this one a little bit high. The intended receiver again, Norman White, the junior from Hamilton, New Jersey. Troy Sanders in coverage again. You look at this Appalachian State defense, John. A week ago, now granted it was in the snow, Western Illinois came in averaging 476 yards. They were held to 231, 245 under their average. But again,
they have big play guys on that defense. 3 Buck Buchanan Award finalists, so they've got guys that can make big plays.
3rd and 6. Whitney just converted a 3rd and 11. Looking top screen, finds his man. It's going to be another 1st down. And Mikey Reynolds on the receiving end this time. Reynolds, that's his 23rd catch this year.
Again, an excellent job by the Villanova front 5. That offensive line doing a terrific job of giving their quarterback time in the pocket. And that's what they'll need, because this defense for Appalachian State's very quick, and they guess on the edge. They try to pick you off on the defensive back end. So Villanova doing a nice job up front early.
Whitney, 65% on the year. He's 4 for 5 now. Play action. Plenty of time, and that pocket collapses. He's going to have to take off. Plenty of room for the big quarterback. He's listed at about 235, and they say he could be 250.
We talked about the running ability of both quarterbacks, and we've seen it now for Villanova. Chris Whitney, 6'2". He's listed at 230, but he's closer to 240 or 245. But he can still move out on the edge, and after having terrific protection, it breaks down a little bit, but he does a nice job of keeping his eyes down the football field, not allowing this defensive secondary to come up and make a play until he makes a 1st down. But he's a big, stocky guy that loves the contact.
And the big, stocky guy, 21 of 30 for 222 yards, 4 touchdowns a week ago. And they were playing in 74-degree temperatures. Double tight end. This is Whitney, and it's sniffed out by that defense. A great job. That time by Dominique McDuffie. The safety came up to make the stop.
McDuffie making a nice play on 1st down on the quarterback, Chris Whitney. And that's a tough job in the open field, bringing down a big quarterback. But he had some help on the outside. That's just a good tackle on the edge by McDuffie.
Andy Talley, the head coach of the Wildcats, saying after that 54-24 victory last week, this was the Villanova team that everyone wanted to see before the season began. They were hitting on all cylinders. Although Sam Venuto says, I don't think we ever hit on all cylinders. But we're peaking at the right time. Another completed pass down to the 20-yard line. This one goes to Matt Caesar. 11 yards for the senior out of Irma, New Jersey. There's Andy Talley, his 26th season, 31st season overall. The only coach in the Colonial Athletic Association history with 100 league wins, 215 wins overall.
And he was really excited about this matchup, about being physical and making plays offensively.
Caesar now out of the Wildcat. And they keep it on the ground, and it's inside the 15-yard line. That's Angelo Barbaro, the senior out of Canfield, Ohio. So you have to locate number 4, Caesar, huh? When he's in the Wildcat, you never know if he's going to run or throw.
You just don't know what he's going to do, and that allows guys like Angelo Barbaro the room on the edge. He got terrific blocking on the outside, but that's the fake. You have to honor Matt Caesar going right, so Barbaro's able to go to the short side of the field and pick up nice yardage on first down.
11th play of the drive. Caesar in the Wildcat takes off inside the 5, and he's tripped up. And he's tripped up by Troy Sanders with the touchdown saving tackle.
And there you see a little bit of the explosiveness of Matt Caesar. His head coach Andy Talley told us during the week he's a 4-4 guy, but we've clocked him at 4-3. That time he was a step away from tying or almost getting into the scoreboard and being a point behind. He's got a pass reception, he's got a rush, and he's got a throw on this drive. So right now, early in this football game, Matt Caesar doing it all for the Wildcats.
Well, a year ago, he was the offensive and special teams player of the year in the Colonial Athletic Association and the most outstanding player in the national championship game. Here he is, Caesar. Wildcat, touchdown, Villanova. And Matt Caesar, who missed 7 games this year, strikes for the Cats, and they're on the board.
A good job answering a score with a score. This offense led by Matt Caesar and their quarterback Chris Whitney. This time in the Wildcat makes a nice cut back to his left. That's a good job of recognizing play side it wasn't there. He bounces it back. A 12-play 73-yard drive taking 5 minutes and 30 seconds off the clock.
10 rushing touchdowns a year ago. That's his first rushing touchdown. Hamilton on for the kick. And it's good. 12 plays, 73 yards. Matt Caesar takes it in from 2, and we are deadlocked. 7-7 and boom.
Matt Caesar did it all on this drive. He threw one, he ran one in, and tied it up at 7.
The NCAA FCS Championship is presented on ESPN by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We'll pick you up. Inside the Appalachian State locker room, and John Congemi, you've been around college pros, and they don't get much better than that.
It was one of the nicest locker rooms I'd ever been in, and it was unbelievable. And I thought Jerry Moore, with the stone inside that locker room, that was his idea. He didn't like how it finished and did a great job. And another guy that did a great job on that drive was Matt Caesar, just throwing a pass, running the football, doing a great job, doing it all. You know, this is a guy that missed 6 games, and now he's back for 6 games, and he's being productive. 12 plays, 73-yard drive, took a lot of time off the clock. So that's where the contrast comes between these two teams, Mike. Appalachian State, a quick strike scoring team. Villanova is going to drive the football and try to eat some clock, but get points at the end.
There's the sophomore, Nick Yako, with his second kick of the afternoon. And this time Walker outside the 5-yard line. And the redshirt freshman up to the 30-yard line. Let's go back and take a look now at Matt Caesar with his first rushing touchdown this year.
Well, Caesar does a great job, but watch the block on top. He's just going to wall. Everybody's going to wall down here. Caesar's going to bounce here and then go back to his left. Just a terrific job of reading the defense, but that offensive line, everybody's walling down to the right, and Caesar's able to step right first, get that defense going with him, and then cut back for the touchdown.
Caesar 4 passing yards, 8 receiving yards, and 14 rushing yards on that drive for the senior. Now Presley, it's his turn to go back to work, and the Mountaineers keep it on the ground. The Bears Cadets, and coming up to make the tackle, that middle linebacker, Marquise Kirkland. He leads the team with 88 tackles coming in.
Yeah, 12 tackles for a loss. He does a lot of damage behind the line of scrimmage, and he's a fast linebacker, very physical, downhill type of guy. So it's one of those situations that in between the tackles, look for number 9 to make a lot of plays today.
And John, I thought it was interesting, the defensive coordinator Mark Reardon saying last week against Stephen F. Austin they were probably putting on too much pressure early. And not quite knowing what to do with number 2. Do you pressure him? Do you sit back and kind of corral him? And he just outruns everybody usually.
Well, he's the fastest guy on the football field. There is no doubt. That was an explosive run. And the main thing, the quality that DeAndre possesses, he gets to top speed at about 2 or 3 steps. And if you give him some space, you're not going to catch him.
Presley, you mentioned 264 rushing last week in the snow against Western Illinois. And more on that right after this play. And they're going to keep it on the ground, and there's some running room for Cadet. Cadet cuts it back inside the 50. Fumble! And keep in mind, this Wildcat defense forced 6 turnovers against Stephen F. Austin, and they're still going backwards, but they do have the ball. So finally, James Pitts, the junior cornerback from Montclair, New Jersey, comes up with the football, but Eric Loper came up with the fumble recovery initially.
Well, it looked like a big play by Tavares Cadet. He was breaking tackles about the 50-yard line. Then he has the ball stripped right there, helmet right on the football from the inside. That's just a great job by John Dempsey. Eric Loper picks the football up, and he says, you know, I can't go very far with it. He pitches it to James Pitts, but loses a little bit more yard. But the Villanova defense turns it over, and now they have excellent field position.
3 fumble recoveries last week, 3 INTs against Stephen F. Austin. So Whitney goes back to work. And nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. He goes down at about the 27-yard line. DJ Smith comes in unblocked, and Smith, he is quite the middle linebacker out of Independence High School in Charlotte. Loss of 8 on the play.
This is a guy in DJ Smith who's a senior that was able to get out and beat out a senior when he was a freshman, and he started for 4 years. His career highs, 513 total tackles. He surveys the field. He keeps the edge on the quarterback and brings him down for a sack, his 2nd of the season.
Whitney facing the 2nd and 18. Looking right down the middle, and he finds his man, and it's up over the 35-yard line. That's Norman White. Last week, White was 6 catches for 69 yards and 3 touchdowns. I should point out one of his touchdown receptions came off a fake field goal, however.
Yeah, but White's that big play receiver on the outside. He has a good frame at 6'3". He'll go up and compete for the football, Mike. And he's a guy that has sure hands. He's one of those long striders, but if you get it close, he has that basketball mentality that it's his ball first. He'll go up and fight and usually come down with the football.
Wildcats 2 for 2 on 3rd down situations so far this afternoon. Again, last week against Stephen F. Austin, 47%. Whitney, and it's batted down at the line of scrimmage. Looked like a Jeremy Kimbrough coming in from his linebacker spot, the sophomore from Decatur, Georgia. And that's going to bring up a punting situation. The first punt here this afternoon.
Well, good pressure by that defensive front 7 for Appalachian State on 3rd down. They come from the edge, and that was one of the first times this offensive line for Villanova has not been able to provide nice protection.
Scarnecchia with the punt, and it's a good one. Tavares Cadet runs back to the 5-yard line and watches it go into the end zone. A 63-yard punt. That is a long in his career. We're in Boone. It's quarterfinal time, and we're tied 7. And we're back in Boone on a sunny Saturday afternoon inside Kit Brewer Stadium. They call this place the Rock, and they have been a rock. They've won 55 of the last 58 here. 3 national championships in 05, 06, and 07, and the Villanova Wildcats, last year's national champs. Tied up at 7-7. It's been a good one. 1 turnover so far. Again, that Villanova defense. More on that after this play against Stephen F. Austin last week. DeAndre Presley. And not too much room to roam. So far, the Wildcats have done a good job with him.
They've really done a nice job of containing the quarterback, the explosive quarterback on the edge on that zone play. Maldonado comes up from the safety position to make the tackle on 1st down, but it's been the big play by Tavares Cadet that got the Appalachian State Mountaineers on the scoreboard. So right now, they're doing a good job in containing the quarterback, and that's one of the keys for today's game.
Presley picked up one before Fred Maldonado brought him down, so 2nd and 9 now. Inside 5 minutes in the first quarter. Again, they're trying to feel out that line of scrimmage as Devin Moore has nowhere to go. How about Conjemi's keys right now for App State?
Well, for App State, offensively, you have to go inside out. You really want to run the football inside effectively so you can get out on the edge and then throw those short passes, controlled passing game. And defensively, they have to locate Caesar, number 4 on the outside. He's the all-everything. He can throw it, he can run it, he can catch it for the Villanova Wildcats.
App State 44% on 3rd down, so much like the Wildcats, very productive. 4 wide receivers now on the field for Presley out of the shotgun. Swings it out in the flats, and he's got some running room. Moore. Devin Moore, he's been dinged up all season long. Can he get there? No, he's driven out of bounds at the 5-yard line by James Pitts. 74 yards on the play. And the Mountaineers are down knocking on the door again.
Well, that's just a great catch by a running back versus pressure. This is a good job by the quarterback, Presley, putting it out a catchable football for Devon Moore, and then he gets an excellent block by Brian Quick down the field to get him inside the 10-yard line down to the 5. A great catch by a running back going to the short side of the field, and then he shows you that big playability by the Mountaineers offense.
Almost 1,400 yards last year. Dinged up all season long. They keep it on the ground. Cadet down inside the 4. Forward progress. Probably will spot that at the 3-yard line. Cadet 6'1", 210-pounder. The junior out of Miami. They say he could be a lot like Matt Caesar. You could see him run from the Wildcat a little bit this afternoon as well.
He's a multi-dimensional athlete. He's got great feet. He's got good vision running the football. And he does a great job in between the tackles getting what's there.
Double tight end now. Jordan along with Brad Hardy.
This is where you have to account, Mike, for the quarterback run.
There he goes. He's not going to get there. Try to tuck it up and cut it back. Gets down to the 2-yard line. And we're inside 3 minutes here in the first quarter. The FCS quarterfinals. There's the king of the mountain right there, Jerry Moore. Presley now 3 for 13 carrying the football after rushing for 264 yards last week against Western Illinois.
Mike, we talked about playing physical, how both teams like to play physical football. It doesn't get any more physical than inside the 5-yard line for head coach Jerry Moore and his offense, and for Andy Talley in the Villanova defense.
3 wide receivers now on 3rd and goal. Presley fires over the middle, and it was deflected at the line of scrimmage. As that Villanova defense rises to the occasion, and Jerry Moore will have to settle for 3 instead of 7.
Rolling the dice a little bit on 3rd and goal inside the 5-yard line. Good pressure by Villanova, and it looked like 99 Rakeem Cox may have got his hand, that left hand, on the football. So that's a good job of bowling your back inside the 5-yard line for that Villanova defense.
Gutierrez 10 for 11. This one from 19 yards. Making 11 of 12 now in his 2010 season. Appalachian State scores, but they could not capitalize on the 74-yard run.
Well, it's the chunk plays that are going to keep Appalachian State in the lead and really successful on this Saturday afternoon.
Top-seeded Appalachian State on the board with another field goal, 10-7. They lead by 3. From 1981 to 1984, the SMU Mustangs own the best record in college football. But as the middle of the decade approached, the program was coming apart at the seams. In 1987, the NCAA slapped the school on the death penalty. This is the story of Dallas in the 80s, the greed, power, corruption that spilled from the oil fields onto the football field. Pony Excess on ESPN Saturday at 9 Eastern, part of ESPN Films' critically acclaimed 30 for 30, presented by Cadillac. Andy Talley, the head coach of the Wildcats in his 26th season. Well, he's had some great players, the Brian Finnernan, Westbrook, of course. Westbrook and Finnernan both still in the National Football League. And again, Talley, the only coach in the CAA history with 100 victories. When you talk about the CAA, they won it last year. Richmond won it in 08. It was a high but a little bit shorter kick into Burrow up over the 30-yard line to the 32. So decent field position now for the Wildcats. A 23-yard return. So some of the guys that have moved on to the National Football League. As I mentioned, Westbrook, Finnerton, and the list keeps going on and on. They've had some great players there at Villanova.
They really have, and you can really tell in his voice when we talked to him this week how emotional and how passionate he is about his kids and wanting them to do well. And every kid he talked about, he felt like he wants them to stay another 4 or 5 years because he recruits the right type of athlete to Villanova.
Ransford Corey now, a true freshman from Hamilton, New Jersey, in the backfield. Aaron Ball in motion, and they swing it out. And it's complete at the 32-yard line. Caesar driven out of bounds. Mark Legree drives him out of bounds. Let's take a look at some of Kangemi's keys now for the Wildcats.
Well, for Villanova, they have to handle the pressure at the line of scrimmage, and I think they've done a great job in protecting Chris Whitney early in this football game, and then defensively contain the playmakers. That's something they haven't been able to do. Big plays by Tavares Cadet, big plays by Devin Moore. It's the chunk yardage that the Villanova defense has to limit.
Aaron Ball, the senior from Los Angeles, in the backfield now with Whitney. Caesar with the football. Cuts it back over the 40-yard line. Caesar all the way up to the 45. First down Wildcats, and they move the chains.
Well, that's why you like to get the football in number 4's hands. Now, he's been hampered all season long with an injury, an ankle injury. It looked like he hobbled off a little bit after that play, and you can tell he's not 100%. He has that look, that body language that just shows you that he's hurting a little bit, but you want to feed him the football if he's even close to 100%.
Injured that ankle back on September 26th on the first play against Penn. Sometimes it tightens up, but not too tight last week, John, because last week against Stephen F. Austin, Caesar, 11 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown, 9 carries for 68 yards. So Caesar already signing a professional baseball contract with the Chicago Cubs. And he's got a big decision coming up in February because deep down he'd still like to play football, and they project him as a 3rd or 4th round draft pick.
Well, he's going to have that opportunity to go to the Senior Bowl, and the other impact player is the running back, Angelo Barbaro. We saw a nice run in the plus territory earlier in this football game from Canfield, Ohio. 7 total touchdowns, so he's that other guy from that backfield that can make it happen.
Caesar out of the Wildcats, and the whistles will blow this dead. There's going to be a timeout called by Villanova.
Timeout. Charge to Villanova. That's their first charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Jerry Trump, our referee, out of the Missouri Valley Conference here today. Now, speaking of impact players, let's go on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Let's take a look at some of the defensive impact players here this afternoon.
Well, defensively, both teams run very well, and they're very aggressive. We talked about the aggressiveness. DJ Smith, he's one of those guys that goes sideline to sideline. 515 career tackles for the Mountaineers, and he does a great job of in between the tackles. And Jabari Fletcher with pressure from the edge. He's a Buck Buchanan finalist. He has 21 career sacks. He knows how to get to the quarterback. So those guys very impactful for the Mountaineers, and he'll graduate on Sunday, Mike.
Yeah, big day tomorrow. Actually, 12 of these Mountaineers will walk in the commencement ceremony here in Boone, including a former player, Daniel Wilcox, who spent 8 years in the National Football League. Caesar fires over the middle. What a grab! Norman White inside the 20-yard line. Little stutter step. He's going to take it to the house. Touchdown! Wildcats. 54 yards. And we were told that Caesar might throw that football today. And that one, what a grab by White.
Come on, that's just spectacular by Norman White. We talked about that ability to go up and get the football and his basketball background. When that ball's up for grabs, it's his. Watch this one-handed grab. That's an overthrow. He just tips it to himself, and then the stutter step to make Mark Legree stop and then start again gets number 8, Norman White, into the end zone. That's just a spectacular play by Matt Caesar getting it close, and then a big catch by White down the field.
3 for 79 yards already for Norman White. Hamilton on for the extra point. And just like that, John Kangemi, a 10-7 ball game turns into a 14-10 lead for the Wildcats of Villanova.
Normally it's the big plays by Appalachian State's offense, but out of the Wildcat you can do so many things. Matt Caesar just gets it close down the middle of the field. No safety down the middle, man coverage, and what a one-handed grab. A tip to himself, Norman White, the stiff arm around the 10-yard line, and then that speed inside the 5 to get in the end zone, but it's the catch, the tip to himself, the body control of a big guy. He's 6'3", 215. That's just spectacular, Mike.
And he has really exploded onto the scene for Villanova this year. 8 catches as a rookie, 17 as a sophomore, 62 catches coming in, 3 catches for 79 so far, and that's his 11th touchdown reception here in 2010.
And you know the good thing about guys like Norman White, he's a junior. His offensive coordinator, we talked to Sam Venuto this week. He said, you know, he's been a pleasant surprise. I bet he's more than a pleasant surprise right now on that sideline.
67 yards in 4 plays, and how about Matt Caesar, huh? 23 yards rushing, a touchdown today, 58 yards passing, a touchdown today, and 12 receiving yards.
Well, it's the big playability of both of these teams. Normally Villanova will take its time with the drives. That time on the Wildcat, a big play in the offense to get them the 4-point lead.
Yako. Back to kick for the Cats, and he could have a very active afternoon. And once again, Roger Walker. Penalty flag dropped back at the up at the 35-yard line. Walker gets over the 25 before he's dragged down. We'll wait the call from Jerry Frum. Andy Talley saying last week against Stephen F. Austin, the Cats played probably as well as they could play. They're looking pretty impressive here today as well.
We have an illegal block below the waist on the return by number 50. The return team be 15 yards. First down.
So the infraction goes against App State. Take a look at the Wildcats, last year's champions, 8-4 record. They started 4-1, but again, we talked about those losses late. Rhode Island beat them 17-14. They had 0 offensive touchdowns, but they pulled out the 17-14 win. And then New Hampshire went to Villanova, picked up a victory, which was rare because this senior class, they were 22-1 at home before losing to New Hampshire.
Well, they really turned around their season, and they got momentum as they got their big play guy on the outside, Caesar, back. That gave a little bit more confidence to this offense, and this defense has been stellar throughout the entire season.
So now the Mountaineers with possession again, coming in averaging about 35 points a game. Presley, not too much running home as he's dragged out by Rakim Cox. Cox, the redshirt freshman out of San Diego, California. Good season, but Marlon Johnson, he was lost to a torn ACL. He was projected as the starter. And Andy Talley saying that his team has been decimated. He said that a lot of teams get injuries, but his team has really been racked up with injuries.
And on both sides of the football, Mike, and this is a defense that likes to pressure the line of scrimmage, be really aggressive at the point of attack.
Well, John, we played 15 minutes of a quarterfinal football here in Boone, and it's been a good one. 14-10, Villanova takes a 4-point lead into the second quarter.
Mike, it's been big plays by Tavares Cadet for the Mountaineers to get Appalachian State on the scoreboard, but Villanova answered with a nice pass from Caesar to Norman White, a one-handed spectacular catch. Villanova with a 4-point lead.
You're watching the NCAA FCS Championship quarterfinals presented on ESPN by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We move to the second quarter in beautiful Boone, North Carolina, and it's been a very interesting 15 minutes. 14-10, Villanova, the defending national champions, on top of the #1 seed, Mountaineers of Appalachian State. Mountaineers with the football. Presley ready to go back to work, and exactly half of their scoring drives have taken less than 2 minutes this year, John. And he comes out firing, and he completes it over the 20-yard line to Blake Elder, the senior from Burns High School in South Carolina. Terrence Thomas makes the stop for Villanova.
Mike, we get a chance that time to see Andre Presley really put velocity on the football from the pocket. We talked about his running ability, and it's a nice catch on that curl route by Blake Elder, but that time DeAndre Presley was able to step into a throw, and you could see that live arm that he possesses.
You see 28 of the 55 drives, 50% under 2 minutes. And this one's going to be picked off almost by Pitts. He dropped it at the last second. And the intended receiver was overshot. That was Matt Klein, the senior out of Thomasville, North Carolina.
Well, he was trying to get the football to his tight end. I think this ball just takes off on him. It was one of those throws where he wanted to fit it in between the linebacker and the safety, and Ben Jordan was going to try to find that soft spot, but the ball just takes off on third down, and now Villanova should get pretty good field position after this punting attempt by Appalachian State.
Sam Morton will be punting it inside the 10-yard line. And it's off the side of his foot. Caesar was way back at the 25-yard line. And it takes an Appalachian State bounce inside the 40. Finally stopped at the 38-yard line. 39-yard punt. And the Wildcats take over with decent field position now with a 4-point lead, 14-10. You see that number 79 right there, Chidozie Equiozor, 6'5", 320. He's a sophomore. Ben Ijalana is 6'4", 320. He's the left tackle, number 71, the other side. They have a huge offensive line. 320, 305, 345, 320. Even the tight end, Chris Farmer, 6'5", 280. They like to play physical football. Once again, Caesar out of the Wildcat, and he's up over the 45-yard line, dropped at the 47 by Dan Wiley.
And a good play coming down the line of scrimmage by Chris Aiken, the defensive tackle as well, to try to slow down Matt Caesar. He was a step away from getting into the secondary again, so maybe I was a little bit off when it looked like he may have nicked that ankle again. He looks like he has all of his explosiveness back.
Andy Talley says he's clocked at 4.4, sometimes 4.3, and he is an explosion ready to happen. And they keep it on the ground inside Appalachian State territory as Angelo Barbaro, a one-time Ohio Division III Player of the Year.
Mike, this is a time of the game where you can really ride that big offensive line. You talked about the size of the offensive line. You had the size of Chris Whitney behind it. You might want to take some clock with a 4-point lead and really make a statement here and be physical on this drive.
Whitney, play action. Feels the rush, and it's almost picked off. Coming in strong was John Reiser, the 6'2", 235-pound sophomore. Intended receiver is Joe Price. The 2010 NCAA Women's Volleyball Regionals take place Saturday, December 11th, beginning at 4 p.m. Eastern, live on ESPNU HD. For more information on the NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship, go to ncaa.com, the official online home for all 88 NCAA championships. Chris Whitney now facing a 2nd and 10. Young man with big numbers, and he has played dinged up all season long as well. Talk about that injury list for Andy Talley. Trying to establish the running game, and he's got some running room inside the 40-yard line. That's Aaron Ball, the senior from Los Angeles. Picks up 14 on the play.
And Mike, Aaron Ball's a little bit bigger than Angelo Barbaro, so normally he's the guy in between the tackles, but he does a nice job of scanning the field. He wants to go to the right, but then he bounces and slides down to his left side. A good cutback and good downfield blocking allow Villanova to move the chains inside the 35-yard line. So a nice run by Aaron Ball. He has 5 touchdowns on the season, and he's the 2nd all-time leading rusher at Villanova behind Brian Westbrook.
Look at Westbrook. 41 school records, 4,499 yards. Caesar again out of the Wildcat, and he goes down just shy of the 30-yard line. Well, you talk about a special player. Here's Caesar, the most outstanding player in the championship game last year. Almost didn't play in that game because he was going to give bone marrow transplant to a young girl. Well, the young girl wasn't ready, so they put it off. He played. Got the most outstanding player, started playing baseball, hitting .444 in the baseball season, and then finally gave the bone marrow transplant, saved the girl's life, and then he goes and plays for the Cubs, hits .347 in 25 games with a 21-game hitting streak. And as you mentioned before, he wants to play football, so he's got a big decision coming up. Very special young man. There's Whitney. Looking for Caesar, he's got him, touchdown! Matt Caesar, talk about timing. This one goes 30 yards And that's his third receiving touchdown here in 2010.
Well, this time the real quarterback's able to throw the football to the real wide receiver, Matt Caesar, on the receiving end from Chris Whitney. And that really takes the steam and the noise out of the rock here at Appalachian State. This is just a great job with a double move outside and then back to the inside by Matt Caesar. Just a great job of giving him the corner route and then back to the post, and a better throw by his quarterback, Chris Whitney, beats the coverage.
And Mark Hamilton, the sophomore, on for the extra points. And the Wildcats, last week, their victory at Stephen F. Austin was their first road postseason victory. And right now, they're on top, 21-10 over the top-seeded Mountaineers. Matt Caesar, he's rushed for one, he's thrown for one, and now he's caught one. The NCAA FCS Championship, brought to you by Hyundai Holiday. Savings, fuel economy, comfort, and joy. And on live, the games you want, the instant you want them. As we take a look at Appalachian Mountain, not too many skiers on the hill this afternoon, though, because most of them here. 21-10, Matt Caesar. Now, let's go back to the fact that he donated bone marrow to a young girl a year and a half. He signed with the Cubs. $100,000 he got, John. He gets another $500,000 February 10th if he quits football. But apparently he doesn't want to quit football.
Well, his goal is to play in the NFL. And with what we've seen today, he has the speed and he has the ability to do that. And the guys that really make that decision are going to be at the Senior Bowl and be able to evaluate his skills. He has the speed, he has the size, and his coach has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, his coach has been entrenched in the National Bone Marrow Donor Program for 18 years. Every spring he has his annual spring drive. Since 1992, his efforts have resulted in nearly 20,000 potential donors. Last year he started the Get in the Game and Save a Life National Bone Marrow Registration Campaign. More than 30 colleges tested, about 16,000 people, brought in donors, and the kick is taken at about the 7-yard line. That's Roger Walker with his fourth return. Then last April, Tally, his Wildcat football program, held a testing program. Over 700 people were tested. And you talk about the Get in the Game and Save a Life National Bone Marrow Registration Campaign. He took it one step further. Now he started the Andy Tally Bone Marrow Foundation. So for 18 years, it's a very, very big part of his life. And Caesar was tested as a freshman. He said he never dreamed that he'd be
right. Yeah, just a terrific story and two terrific individuals and a great example from coach to player.
Presley down 21-10, comes out slinging it. This is Cadet. Cadet driven out of bounds shy of the 40-yard line by Eric Loper.
Appalachian State is going to get back in this football game because they have the ability to create big plays. They don't take a lot of time off the clock. They may go a little bit more up-tempo for Jerry Moore, the head coach, and the quarterback coach, Brad Glenn, calling the plays today. But they have the ability to strike quick and strike for deep chunks, and that's what number two's on the field. You always have that opportunity.
Play action. Presley going deep. And he overshoots his man at the 10-yard line, the intended receiver, Brian Quick. Now you look at these two receivers. Quick goes 6'5", 220. We already saw what Norman White could do. He's 6'3", about 220, 215 pounds. So big, quick receivers on this field today.
Well, Quick is quick, and he tried to get underneath that rainbow going down the field. That was a good job of ad-libbing by Presley, getting outside. And Quick leads the FCS in yards per catch. In receiving touchdown, he has 19. That ties for 8th. But this is a guy that's a touchdown maker, and he got behind the coverage, but it was double coverage, a tight window for Presley to throw that deep ball to.
61 grabs last year for 982 yards for Quick. 3rd and 4. Mountaineers just 1 for 3 third down conversions, and this one's complete to Quick. Still in bounds inside Wildcat territory. He didn't want to go out of bounds. We talk about big size, 6'5", 220. He was hard to bring down.
We talked about both teams playing physical. That's an example of a wide receiver on the outside who's a playmaker, playing a little bit more physical than he's used to. At 6'5", 220, he did not want to go down. He cuts back inside of James Pitts. You're going to see 4 or 5 white jerseys around Brian Quick, but it took all 5 to get him out of bounds.
Cadet Inside handoff, and he's wrapped up quickly by a host of tacklers. Thomas Weaver in there along with Marquise Kirkland. Weaver the nose guard as they play this 3-3-5 stack, much like West Virginia.
Yeah, they like to pressure the line of scrimmage, the Wildcats defensively, and that's why I think you're going to get some opportunities to get big running plays because of that zone read or getting DeAndre Presley out on the edge. So far they've done a nice job, and they came in to this game only allowing 98.4 yards on the ground, but a couple big plays early in this game have hurt them.
And the Mountaineers, because of that stout rush defense, thought they might have to throw the ball, which they do here. Cadet inside the 45, stop shy of the 40-yard line. Inside 10 minutes now. 21-10. Villanova, the defending champions, coming in with an 8-4 record. Boy, can you imagine what Stephen F. Austin feels like? They go down there and put 54 points on Stephen F. Austin, and Stephen F. Austin still had over 400 yards of offense, but they turned it over 6 times last week.
Yeah, that was the thing that usually beats you. 3 interceptions and 3 fumbles, and this Villanova defense was able to turn them back.
Presley. He takes off inside the 40-yard line, had to get down to about the 37 for the first down. Thomas Weaver, the nose guard, brings him down.
Mike, it looks like he's just short of the yardage he needed to move the chains, and I think they're going to go for this. I think that Jerry Moore was consulted on the sidelines, and he made up his decision without hesitation. The Mountaineers going to go for this on 4th down.
55% on the year, 6 of 11 on 4th down conversions. Double tight end. Presley, the junior from Tampa, Florida. Cadet out of Miami gets the ball.
There's nothing there, Mike.
Wow, he hit that line of scrimmage. Looked like he got over the line of scrimmage, but he's going to be about, maybe 2 feet shy of the first down. But Kim Cox once again makes the initial hit, the redshirt freshman from San Diego.
We talked about playing physical on both sides of the football. That time, Raheem Cox and Weaver do the job up front. That was a tough play at the point of attack for that front 7, and Villanova said no.
8:47 to go. Cadet gets the call, hits a wall, and they give it up on downs, trailing by 11. 21-10, Villanova on top of Appalachian State. Number 4, Matt Caesar, not 100% healthy, but he's done everything today.
Well, we talked about him at the beginning of the broadcast, how he can do everything. He's run the football 6 times for 35 yards, including that 2-yard rush. He's thrown the football twice for 58 yards, that time going to Norman White for 54, and then the double move on the outside back to the post route. 4 receptions for 42 yards, including that 30-yarder for a touchdown. You can see how excited he is to be back out on the football field.
John, we talked about the bone marrow transplant that he gave to the 1.5-year-old young girl. The last baseball game he played, he hit a home run, and he took some time off to recuperate. And the first game back, he had an inside the park home run. So this guy,
he does it all.
Not sure if this guy's real. Nice job of reversing the field. Angelo Barbero, the senior, comes in averaging about 5 yards a carry, but a very consistent player in his senior year. In his career, he's averaging 9.1 yards a carry. Well, that's pretty impressive.
Mikey catches the football well out of the backfield. 22 catches coming into this game for 2 touchdowns and 238 yards. So not only running the football effectively for the Wildcats, but catching in good hands out of the backfield.
Picked up 7, 2nd and 3 now for the Wildcats as we approach the 8-minute mark. Whitney fires, and it's complete near side. That's Mikey Reynolds with his 2nd catch today, the junior out of Morristown, New Jersey.
Fans complaining a little bit. They thought that ball may have touched the turf before Reynolds was able to get his hands and fingertips underneath that football, and I think that's what head coach Jerry Moore is wanting to talk to the officials about. Take another look. The ball was thrown low, but let's see if that ball looks like it got to the turf.
Well, there's the whistles, and I think the officials, they want to get it correct.
The previous play is under further review. The ruling on the field was a completed pass.
So they're going to go upstairs and take a look at this. Again, as you heard from Jerry Frump, the ruling was a completed pass. They will look for indisputable video evidence.
We're going to get to take another look right here. That ball looks like it's pinned on the ground just for an instant. It was a good effort by Reynolds. Another look from the end zone shot. Going outside, a low throw, but he goes down to get the football. It looks like the ball just grazes the turf there. It's a good effort by Reynolds. That's tough to pick up when you're seeing it live. It looked like a good catch, but I don't know. The ball didn't look like it shifted, Mike, but it may have just grazed the turf for an instant.
Yeah, I think you're right. The winner of this football game will take on the winner of North Dakota State and Eastern Washington. That game's coming up later this afternoon. And Delaware advancing last night, beating New Hampshire 16-3. Devlin with a couple of touchdown passes in the second half, and they'll take on the winner of Wofford and Georgia Southern. And John, the last time Wofford played Georgia Southern, they won 33-31.
Review. The ruling on the field stands. It's a first down.
And I think, Mike, what the official saw was the ball never moved. The ball, when you can take a look at the stripes on the ball, when that ball goes down and Reynolds has it, the ball really never changes direction. So the officials agree with the call on the field, and that goes against Appalachian State because it looked like Jerry Moore had a pretty good case.
Well, the call stands. First down, Wildcats, leading by 11 over the #1 seed. Whitney looking, firing, and not a whole lot of pressure on that Villanova quarterback, John. He's got plenty of time to throw the football. White on the receiving end.
Mike, that was one of the keys we talked about. Could Villanova's offensive line handle the pressure at the line of scrimmage? And so far, for the most part, they've done an excellent job of providing throwing lanes for Chris Whitney. And this was a late ball. It looked like the receiver on the outside, Norman White, had to wait on this football because he was open early on the edge against Ed Gainey. So that's a good job by the offensive line, giving their quarterback Whitney plenty of time to deliver the football.
Left side of that line, Aguilan and Plauser both making their 52nd consecutive start. They keep it on the ground, and nice job of keeping his feet. So getting down near the 35-yard line. That's Lawrence Doss. He's a junior from Bellflower, California. So both teams doing it by committee as far as the running backs. But Whitney, you look at this young quarterback. He's a senior, but he had 2 bulging discs in his back. Didn't have much of a preseason camp. He had a knee problem, turf toe, ankle.
You name it,
he just won't come off the field.
That's right. And that's a true warrior. And now he's on the sidelines with the Wildcat giving way to Matt Caesar.
Caesar back in the Wildcat now. And a penalty flag dropped, and it's going to be a penalty against the Wildcats.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense, number 82. 5-yard penalty, first down.
That's a tight end, Chris Farmer, the senior from Philadelphia. You know, I guess what we've seen number 4, Matt Caesar, do so much here today, but the rushing touchdown, the receiving touchdown, and touchdown pass in the same game, that is a first for him.
You would think, as much as we talked about him, about during the week and looking at his stats, he may have done that before, but he was out a lot this season due to that ankle injury.
Here's again Caesar out of the Wildcat inside the 35-yard line. Finally wrestled down by Ed Gainey, the junior from Winston-Salem.
And a good block up front by Dan Cherie, the center for Villanova. That offensive line, you said it, Mike, that a couple plays ago, they've been doing a good job in pass protection, but they're moving the line of scrimmage on the Appalachian State defensive side of the football. So that's a good sign for the Wildcats.
Dan Shirey, the only one that weighs less than 300 pounds up front. He goes 290. Whitney, second down, comes up firing, and it's complete to Mikey Reynolds, and Reynolds wrestled out of bounds inside the 25-yard line. So Whitney, you have Norman White coming in with 62 catches. Caesar's been banged up all year, but he spreads it around quite nicely.
And Mike, this is a type of drive that takes the steam out of you defensively, and it takes the steam and the emotion off of that Appalachian State sideline. Not only is Villanova spreading the football sideline to sideline with those bubble screens, they're gashing him with Matt Caesar and a little bit of Ball and Barbero and Doss running the football. So right now, the momentum all on the side of the Villanova Wildcats.
Now keep in mind, we have 5:29 to go before halftime. It's 21-10, so this is a big defensive stand by Appalachian State. If they can do it, they're not going to get it done. Matt Caesar, another touchdown, another one for the Wildcats.
That's just horrific blocking, Mike, at the point of attack. Brant Klauser, a great job by the guard getting out in front, and Matt Caesar goes in untouched on that Wildcat. He gets a great block by Norman White around the 10-yard line, the receiver that had the spectacular catch. The block out in front right there about the 10-yard line allows Caesar to go in untouched.
Well, he can haul it in, as we know, but those legs, running that football, that's what he does best. 8 carries now, 66 yards. Even last year, running the football, 813 yards, averaged 7.5 yards every time he touched the football. Here's Mark Hamilton, right down the middle of the freeway, and the Wildcats are on a roll. 5:17 to go. It's 28-10. Cats on top.
Playing physical with emotion. Matt Caesar's been able to do everything today for the Wildcats, and he pushes the lead to 28-10.
Villanova on top, 28-10. Matt Caesar, hoping the NFL scouts are watching the broadcast today.
They're going to definitely take a look at this film because Matt Caesar's done it all from the Wildcat position. Take a look at two guys. Klauser is going to be, or Quarry's going to be in the backfield here, and then up front is Klauser. You're going to see these guys kick out and seal for Matt Caesar to go through the edge. Now watch the kick out there by the fullback, and then Klauser seals it there. And that allows number 4 to be athletic, get through the hole, and then down the field right there, number 8 is going to get a terrific block, Norman White, to get him into the end zone. So a nice kick out by the fullback Quarry, a good seal on the inside by Klauser, downfield by White. That allows Matt Caesar to get into the end zone. Yeah, the big hogs up on front, they love to get their pictures on TV. There's Brent Klauser, the senior from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and Quarry, the fullback, who was able to spring Matt Caesar into the end zone.
Andy Talley saying he watches a lot of Patriots games and very impressed with Wes Walker. He says Caesar can do everything Walker can and then some, which is quite the compliment. Walker at the 5-yard line, and Walker up just shy of the 30, dropped at the 29, 23-yard return. John Dempsey makes the tackle. Some pretty impressive numbers, 67 rushing, 42 receiving, 58 passing.
Well, in one half, that's the most amazing thing, Mike. He's been able to do this in the first half, and you know, his coaches told us all about what his potential was, and we were going, well, you know, can he be that good of a thrower? Can he be that good of a runner? Can he catch the football? Well, he's answered all of our questions. Andy Talley was not lying.
Presley, nowhere to go. Pocket collapses, and he's just smothered at about the 24. Thomas Weaver, Antoine Lewis will share that sack. This Villanova defense that came in, that's their 19th sack this year.
And Mike, on the flip side, App State's only allowed 7 sacks this season coming into the game.
Great point. Presley looking left, comes back right, and he's going to take off. Spins just shy of the 30-yard line. Hit, and he's hit hard. Ronnie Atkins coming up from the safety spot. You know, Andy Talley said when the NFL scouts are asking about Caesar, he says, all he says is, you want this kid on your team.
Right.
You will want him on your team.
Well, he's that special player, and we've told the story about the bone marrow, and we told the story about what his dream is about playing in the NFL, and I think he's going to have that opportunity. That Senior Bowl is going to be a huge week for Matt Caesar.
3rd and 9. Mountaineers 2 for 5 this afternoon. Over the middle, and this one's almost picked up. The intended receiver was Matt Klein. Fred Maldonado got his hand on that one.
And Mike, that ball was tipped. It was altered from DeAndre Presley, and it looked like the wide receiver Matt Klein never got a good look at it because the ball was tipped. Let's take a look right here and see if that ball changes direction. Marquise Kirkland gets the tip from that middle linebacker position. He was really deep in coverage and closed that window that Presley was trying to fit that football into.
A high punt. Caesar calls for the fair catch. It takes a Mountaineer bounce inside of the 20, rolling inside the 15, and inside the 10-yard line. Talk about a home roll right there, huh? The 2010 NCAA Women's Volleyball Regionals take place today, December 11th, beginning at 4 p.m. Eastern, live on ESPN UHD. For more information on the NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship, go to ncaa.com, the official online home for all 88 NCAA championships. Well, you know, he could have scooped it up and taken it back for a punt return for a touchdown, too. I mean, he's done everything else here today.
A big second half left.
Okay.
Well, this is a time right now for Appalachian State. They have to create a turnover. There's only 3 minutes and 40 seconds left to go before halftime. They have to win the battle of field position and try to turn it over.
Whitney. Another shotgun. Good defensive play. That time by the Mountaineers. Ray coming up from the linebacker spot. Justin Ray said that Georgia Tech actually gave him some look as a quarterback, but getting it done here as a linebacker.
Well, nice job behind the line of scrimmage by App State. They need to pressure the pocket. They need to pressure this running game, because the only way they can get back into this football game is to score before halftime. At 28-10, they have to win that battle, flip the field position in their favor, and they can do it by either getting a turnover or going 3 and out defensively.
Caesar and the Wildcat, they're going to use their second timeout with 2:58 to go in the first half here from Boone. 28-10, Villanova on top. Let's check in with the studio. Here's Ryan Burr. All right, thanks a lot, Brian. And we're back in Boone inside the Kid Brewer Stadium, where the Mountaineers have won 55 of the last 58, but they trail in this game now. 28-10 as we check some news and notes of the NCAA FCS Championship. Delaware advancing last night. Top seeds fall in the second round last weekend. And Georgia Southern seeking a 7th national title, most of any FCS school. They take on Wofford. And as I mentioned earlier, they lost to Wofford 33-31 earlier this year, so that should be a great matchup. And then with that game, we'll take on the Blue Hens of Delaware. Now you talk about Georgia Southern looking for their 7th national championship, John. They've got 6, Youngstown State 4, Appalachian State 3. But the two conferences here, Villanova out of the CAA, Richmond out of the CAA, the last 2 champions, and of course Appalachian State out of the Southern Conference, winning at 3 straight games. We'll be back in Boone. The final 2:58, the first half, after this. And we're back. These Mountaineer fans trying to get loud now as they trail 28-10. The last year's champions, the Wildcats of Villanova. 2:58 to go. 2nd and long, 2nd and 13. Caesar in at the Wildcats, standing in his own end zone. Almost had that crease on John. If he would have got through that opening right there, he might have taken off for another one.
Well, the good thing that Caesar knows and does very well, he doesn't get greedy in the run game. If there's a 5 or 6 yard gain there, he's going to stick his head down and get the tough yardage. He's not looking to hit a home run every run.
Patrick Blaylock came up to make the stop, the true freshman from Asheville, North Carolina. Appalachian State using up one of their timeouts right now. So Matt Caesar, he's been the story. And the king of the mountain, Jerry Moore, trying to get his troops number. I think at the top of the broadcast, I said that against Chattanooga, DeAndre Presley's first start this year, they were down 21-7. They were down 21 points in the 4th quarter. So if I did say that, I apologize. They were down 21 points, came back and won that game 42-41. They scored 5 touchdowns in a span of 10 minutes and 21 seconds. So they're down 28-10, so anything can happen.
That's right. And that's the one thing, Mike, that Appalachian State offensively, they will score and score quickly and score in bunches. So if they can just get something on the board before halftime, get this football back in good field position, make a nice 3 and out for their defense, they have a chance because of that ability to score points in bunches.
That score was 28-7 at the half, and they were down 21 points in the 4th quarter, Chattanooga. Whitney in at quarterback, straight drop back, and he's going down. He's chased from behind. Reiser, the defensive end, got him. The sophomore from Fayetteville. So Reiser came in with 4.5 sacks. And that's going to bring up a punting situation. 2:40. Do the Mountaineers have to score before the half?
Well, you'd like to build on the momentum of this 3-and-out that was built by their defense. Just a nice job of John Reisor coming from the backside. He's had 4.5 sacks coming into this game. Add another one to his tally, but that's a good job, a good defensive stand by Appalachian State. Now they have to field the punt, get good field position, and try to get some points on the board.
Well, from 1981 to 84, the SMU Mustangs owned the best record in college football. But as the middle of the decade approached, the program was coming apart at the seams. In 1987, the NCAA slapped the school with the death penalty. This is the story of Dallas in the 80s. The greed, power, corruption that spilled from the oil fields onto the football field. Pony Excess on ESPN, 9 Eastern tonight, part of ESPN Films' critically acclaimed 30 for 30, presented by Cadillac. Whistle, blew this play dead before Scarnecchia got the punt off from the end zone.
I'm not so sure if they gave the signal by the officials to put the football into play. Villanova was ready to punt.
Well, the adrenaline's flowing. You're up 28-10.
They want to get into halftime with this lead.
Scarnecchia, the junior, averaging 43. A 64-yard punt earlier in the half. Cadet calls for the fair catch just inside the 50. So the Mountaineers, the top seed, with 2 minutes and 36 seconds to go before halftime. Jerry Moore, and you take a look at Appalachian State's 18 appearances in the postseason, 17-6. And of course, 3 national championships, 3 times they were seeded #1.
Well, Mike, the defense did their part. Now with 2:36, the offense and their quarterback, the big playability of DeAndre Presley has to be on display to get some points with this excellent field position.
4 wideouts on the field now for Presley. Play action, comes out firing. This one's complete. Coco Hillary puts his head down, stays in bounds, and he's inside the 40. Had to get to about the 39 for the first down. Clock is still running. Hillary, that's his first catch here today.
And plenty of time for Appalachian State to take their time and move the football down efficiently.
Presley comes out, finds his man again, and this time it's quick. And the forward progress will move the chain, so that'll stop the clock with 2 minutes and 9 seconds. While they reset the markers. Presley, the 4th player in FCS history to pass for 2,000 and rush for 1,000 in the same season. Thinking about running this one, and he does, but he gets out of bounds, stops the clock with 1:58 to go. Ronnie Akins ran him out of bounds.
And that's a smart play. Even though you lose a couple yards, the quarterback, DeAndre Presley, knew he had to get out of bounds to stop that clock. So even though you take a couple yards back on a busted running play, at least you stop the clock and you can line up and get organized on 2nd and long.
We talk about that game at Chattanooga where they erased that 21-point deficit. He had 365 yards of offense. Now trying to get the Mountaineers as Klein is ridden down by Eric Loper. Loper, the sophomore from Sicklerville, New Jersey. Clock running with 1:40 to go.
Nice open field tackle by Loper. And now DeAndre Presley trying to get everybody organized on 3rd and long.
Appalachian State averaging 35 points a game. They have 10 now on the board. Presley, well, good coverage, plenty of time. He's going to go deep, looking for quick, and a little bit too far. It's out of the end zone. James Pitts with 9 career INTs in coverage that time for Villanova.
Good job by James Pitts using his body to push quick to the back of the end zone where he had no chance to go up and get the football. But DeAndre Presley's going to take a look at this play on film tomorrow, and he missed his tight end, Ben Jordan, going right down the middle on a cover 2 coverage because there's 2 safeties on the hash. And here's the tail end of that play. The ball just thrown out of bounds, but a good body job by James Pitts just to body up and push the would-be wide receiver to the back end line.
4th down. They're 0 for 1 on 4th down so far. Presley looking, and this one is incomplete. Again, look for Brian Quick. And some of the Bluebirds starting to surface now inside the Kid Brewer Stadium. That's a rarity with all the success they've had.
Yeah, with a ton of success with the 3 back-to-back 05, 06, 07 national championships. The fans not happy with when they look at the scoreboard and see 28-10 Villanova, but that was a golden opportunity for Appalachian State's offense to come down and get some points, and the fans aren't used to doing this, especially at the Rock, where they've won 12 out of the last 13 postseason games.
A little spoiled, you think?
I would think so, Mike.
You know, you talk about the 3 national championships, and you saw the numbers there. 6 straight Southern Conference championships. That's tied with Georgia Southern. We're going to keep it on the ground as we approach the 1-minute mark here in the first half. Jabari Fletcher making the stop. One of the 3 defensive players for Appalachian State, still up for the Buck Buchanan Award, which goes to the top defensive player at the FCS level.
Well, Mike, when you take a look at the Villanova side of the football, you have to be happy because you've got your playmaker involved early and often, and that's Matt Caesar. And you get a lot of production from Chris Whitney, some big plays from Norman White. You have to be happy going into halftime.
Whitney is going down, fumble. He jumped on it. A lucky bounce that time. He was hit by Jabari Fletcher. Fletcher coming into the ball game. 8 sacks, so that's 9 sacks for him now.
And that's a strange call. You would think you would just run the football out. Appalachian State, I believe, have 1 timeout remaining, so you just run the football. You don't go in because Whitney looks like he's hobbling to the sideline, and you don't want to risk turning the football over in that situation.
And Whitney and Dustin Thomas, the only scholarship quarterbacks, and Thomas trying to hold on to his red shirt so they can ill afford to lose Chris Whitney to an injury. As John said, he's limping away. Your thoughts on the first half?
Well, I thought Villanova did exactly what they wanted to do. Big plays on offense, and they limited the big plays from Appalachian State.
Villanova on top at halftime, 28-10 over the top-seeded Mountaineers of Appalachian State. Right now, let's check in with the studio. Here's Ryan Burr. The NCAA FCS Championship quarterfinals presented on ESPN by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Back inside Kid Brewer Stadium in Boone, North Carolina. It's halftime, and Villanova with 28 points on the board, 28-10 over Appalachian State, the #1 seed. Along with John Congemi, former Pitt quarterback Mike Gleason. Great to have you with us. Not that big of a differential right now because of as far as total offense, so big plays, the difference.
Big plays in 3rd down capability for Villanova. I think Villanova's done a nice job on 1st and 2nd down. In the 2nd quarter alone, they've run 17 offensive plays, Mike, only 1 play on 3rd down. So Appalachian State needs to get their defense and get 3 and outs in the 2nd half, cause some turnovers, and score some points.
All right, let's go to the 2nd half, play some football here. Villanova, the defending national champions. Appalachian State, the national champs, 3 straight years, 05, 06, and 07. DeAndre Presley, 1 half to go to keep this season alive. Second half is underway. Bavaro at the 7-yard line. The senior out of Ohio gets up to the 25 before he's smothered. All right, John, let's take a look at the Home Depot coaching adjustment now.
Well, I know Appalachian State during halftime, head coach Jerry Moore and defensive coordinator Dale Jones, they have to find a way to stop Caesar offensively, and that goes into the Wildcat formation. He's able to make plays throwing the football by giving the illusion that he's going to run to his right. Then he makes the big throw down the field to Norman White for the touchdown. Now, when he's outside at a receiver, the double move. Just a beautiful setup to the corner and then to the post. So they have to stop him throwing it, catching it, and running it from the Wildcat.
Whitney at quarterback now, ready to open up the second half of play. First play from scrimmage. And they open up on the ground, and there's no place to go. That's Aaron Ball, the ball carrier. A couple of minutes ago, John, I talked about the differential in total offense. 263 for Villanova, 223 for Appalachian State. So not a whole lot separating as far as total offense, but there's a ton right down the scoreboard, 28-10.
No, and the way the game started, Mike, Appalachian State was the one coming out making the big plays with a cadet run, and Andre Presley had a long of 74 through the air, but Villanova was able to wear them down early in that first half.
Nice job of checking off his first and second option, and finally he throws it up to the flat. That's Caesar with another reception. Mark Legree, who's up for the Buck Buchanan Award for the third consecutive year, runs him out of bounds.
And the ball comes out late from Whitney, and remember, right before halftime, Whitney looked like he hurt that right ankle, so we haven't seen him be able to get out on the edge and test it coming out early on a cold day in the second half. So now the first third down opportunity for Appalachian State's defense. We talked about it before the third quarter. Can they get off the field on third down against this Villanova offense?
Whitney, good coverage downfield, nowhere to go. Whitney's going to take off. He's over the 30-yard line, and they call themselves a very physical football team, and they say our quarterback might be the most physical player on this team.
Well, he leads them on the edge. He's not going to run out of bounds. He lowers his shoulder, and he'll take on defenders. He's going to come up short on that play because of DJ Smith. He was able to get to the edge and stop the quarterback, Chris Whitney, from moving the chains on third down. Good tackle by DJ Smith.
Out of Independence High School. He was part of that 109-game winning streak at Independence. His first game as a Mountaineer was up at Michigan. So this guy's had a lot of success in his career. Scarnecchia, the junior punter, will be back inside the 20-yard line. Cadet stands at his 25. He backs up to his 24. It's a low line drive kick. And it takes a Villanova bounce, and it rolls down to the just inside the 25-yard line. So let's look at the bracket now. This is a quarterfinal matchup. Appalachian State, Villanova. The winner will take on the winner of Eastern Washington and North Dakota State. Delaware moved ahead last night with a 16-3 win. They will take on the winner of Wofford and Georgia Southern. Well, that should be a great game out of the Southern Conference. 33-31. Wofford beating Georgia Southern in their first matchup.
Yeah, in that game last night, a defensive struggle. I think there were more punts in that game in the first half than points.
Presley comes up firing, has Klein complete at the 30-yard line in that first half. Presley was 9 of 15 for a $139. Fred Maldonado drives him out of bounds.
Now the adjustments offensively for Appalachian State, what can they do differently in the second half to get off of 10 points? Well, they have to get the big play back in their offense, and I think it all starts with the quarterback. It all starts with the running ability of Andre Presley.
Presley with the pitch. Cadet, he is racked at the 29-yard line. Boy, he was hitting hard. Marquise Kirkland, the middle linebacker, making the initial contact there.
Mike, we watched film on this Villanova defense yesterday, and we didn't see that team speed on film, but you can see it in person. It's there, and they do a great job of running from sideline to sideline because stopping Tavares Cadet on the edge is not simple, and they were able to get white jerseys outside and gain that leverage on the edge.
Presley fires, looking for Coco Hillary, and just over his head at the 35-yard line. And that's going to bring up a punting situation. They were just 2 of 7 on third down after going 44% during the season.
Well, we talked about the velocity of DeAndre Presley. That time all he had to do was fit one in there to the outside because Coco Hillary only goes 5'10". You just want to get it close because you catch and fall down, and it's a first down.
Sam Martin now, sophomore out of Georgia with the punt. It's a good one. Fair catch called for by Caesar just inside the 25-yard line. 47-yard punt, so we're going to take a timeout. 12:15 to go in the third quarter. Sunny, but a little bit chilly. The ponds are frozen over. The Ducks are in the pond. The Wildcats in the lead. snowboarding over on Appalachian Mountain. 28-10, Villanova on top. Now tonight, one college football player will transcend greatness and become a legend. In Oregon, sensational sophomore Michael James bring home the game's most prestigious award. Will it be Stanford's Andrew Luck, Boise State's Kellen Moore, or Auburn's dynamic dual threat Cam Newton? The Heisman Trophy presentation presented by Nissan on ESPN tonight at 8 Eastern. What do you think? Who's your pick there, buddy?
Well, I think Cam Newton is probably going to walk away with the trophy, but Luck is such a phenomenal quarterback, and I think he's going to go to the next level and probably be the best of the bunch.
Speaking of the best of the bunch here this afternoon, Max Caesar back at the Wildcat position again for Villanova. And he gets a snap, takes off. Well, he was stopped dead in his tracks by the defensive line. That was John Reiser getting in there first, and he slid through and still managed to at least get past the line of scrimmage.
Well, Mike, we talked about he's very smart when he runs the football, and he knows when there's only 2, 3, 4 yards that are available to him. So he's going to get north and south, square those shoulders, and run behind his pads and just make a positive into a negative. That could have been very easily a 2 or 3, 4 yard loss on the play, but now on first down or on second down, at least they're in manageable situation.
Reiser with the last stop, 3 tackles for loss this afternoon. He came in with 14 on the year. Mountaineers showing blitz. Here they come. Whitney fires it, and there's the penalty flag. That's Brent Klauser, and he's not allowed to catch that football, John.
He doesn't want to catch that football. Number one, he probably can't, and number two, it's too cold to pressure Bryce Greer, his first on the afternoon, and that's going to draw a flag. But the Mountaineers defensively now are starting to pressure the line of scrimmage, and that confused the senior quarterback, Chris Whitney.
Here's the call from Jerry Frum.
We have intentional grounding on the offense. Loss of down. Third down.
Whitney saw a white shirt and saw those black jerseys, and then he just got rid of it.
What you wanted to do in that situation, Mike, was just to kill the play that you had. If you have that ability and get into a catch and throw situation with your big play receiver, Norman White, on the outside. He's matched up man-man with nobody in the middle of the field. So if you see that situation again, and Chris Whitney probably will in this second half, pay attention to the matchup on the outside where he can catch the football in shotgun and look for a big play.
5 wideouts, 5 defensive backs on for Appalachian State. Nowhere to go. There was a nice pocket. Finally, some green opens up in front of Whitney, and he rumbles over the 25-yard line. Had to get up to the 34 for the first down. Troy Sanders makes the stop. His 4th tackle, a gain of 16, but a punting situation now for the Wildcat.
A couple missed tackles by Dan Wiley. Was the first guy there that should have brought down the quarterback, but if Troy Sanders doesn't make that open field tackle, it looked like Chris Whitney was going to have enough time and enough poise to get the first down. He's scrambling in the backfield, but if he doesn't get tackled in the open field, that's a first down.
Cadet inside the 30-yard line. He had some green in front of him, but he was slowed up. Cadet reverses his field, finally dropped at about the 46-yard line. A nice return by Cadet. 10:38 to go. Mountaineers have their work cut out for them, trailing by 18. The NCAA FCS Championship brought to you by the Kia Soul. New way to roll. DeAndre Presley, he hopes to roll. This close to Christmas right now. Are they going to pack it up and start going out and doing their Christmas shopping? Are they going to move on to the semifinals? Right now they trail with 10:38 to go. It's 28-10. Presley and company with the football. A team that averages 35 points a game. Villanova, we knew that they were tough and physical, but you surprised that they've held them to 10 so far, John?
I am very surprised, and I'm surprised they haven't been able to get Brian Quick, the big play receiver, on the outside. He's 6'5", just a huge frame. Get it close to him in this pass-oriented offense.
Presley, and they keep it on the ground, and that middle linebacker, Marquise Kirkland, is there to meet Devin Moore. This Appalachian State offense, through the course of the season, they average about 1.17 points per minute, and they need some instant offense right now for Jerry Moore. Jerry Moore looking for his 200th victory here at Appalachian State. Presley flush from the pocket, gets over the 45-yard line. Jim Cox was holding his own contained there, and Presley probably should have stepped up in the pocket, John, instead of taking off.
Well, it looked like he wanted to run that high-low. It's a corner route with a short stop route on the short side of the field, but he flushed himself away to pressure. So it's one of those situations where you're right, Mike. If you stay in the pocket and step up, you have a better chance of either looking downfield or taking off up the middle.
Victory for these Mountaineers will put them in the semifinals for the 5th time in 6 years. And once again, Coco Hillary, the intended receiver.
Fastball is incomplete.
Boy, Coco's had a great career, but every one of the throws today have been high.
They've been high, and they've been a little bit too hard on a cold day. You got to put that ball in the frame of your wide receivers, and that time Coco Hillary not able to come up with it. And this is the second time that the series right before halftime when they started on the Villanova 49, and now they start again close to the Villanova 49-yard line with great field position, and they go 3 and out. Just a bad situation for Appalachian State's offense.
Sam Martin, 4 punts in the first half, 4 already in the second half. Another fair catch called by Caesar. This one's inside the 20 at about the 18-yard line. This week on ESPN's Monday Night Football, Ray Lewis leads Baltimore Ravens up against Andre Johnson of the Houston Texans. Ravens-Texans on ESPN's Monday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. 9:32 to go. Quarter number 3 here from the Rock. Kid Brewer Stadium in Boone, North Carolina. Gorgeous campus, gorgeous facilities here. But right now, the scoreboard not so gorgeous for these Mountaineer fans. Whitney takes off, and he breaks a couple of tackles. Finally, Justin Ray, the sophomore from Covington, Georgia, drives him out of bounds. What do you think? He looked a little bit like Ben Roethlisberger?
Possibly. They may have looked like Big Ben if you erase that 1 on the side of Whitney, but that's a great job of toughness. We talked about how physical he can be at the quarterback. He's going to stiff arm right there on 28 to the outside at Gainey, and then he lowers the shoulder to finish the run. So it's a situation where you have a big quarterback. He's at close to 250 pounds. He will distribute pain on the outside.
Caesar and the Wildcat again for the Wildcats. Well, he has that 4.4 speed. Didn't look like he had much. Suddenly he saw the hole. He found it. Short gain, but he made something really out of nothing that time. And again,
and Mike, with him and Wildcat, you never know if he's going to pull up and throw the football. So defensively, you really can't sell out to stop the run because he's already beat you with a big play down the middle to Norman White in the first half when he was running to his right, then stopped. So the way he handles the football and the way he handles himself in that Wildcat, really you have to be on your heels and pay attention if you're Appalachian State.
Four wideouts on the 2nd and 6. And Whitney just takes off. Not sure what he saw that time, John, but as soon as he touched that snap or received it, he took off and hit a wall.
And that was a design run on first, going between the tackles, but there was nothing there. And Villanova offensively, the first 5 drives of the football game, 4 touchdowns and a punt. In their last 4 possessions, they've had the one before the half and then 3 punts. So this defense for Appalachian State is trying to make some changes. Dale Jones and Jerry Moore, the defensive coordinator and head coach, respectively, trying to make changes at halftime to stop this offense.
Whitney, plenty of time. Good coverage. Penalty flag dropped, and there's going to be a collision, and it's completed inside the 30-yard line. Joe Price comes up with the football, but keep in mind, a penalty flag was dropped. Boy, that was a very strange play. The penalty goes against Villanova. But, I mean, he had plenty of time before that hold, and I'm not sure how Price came up with the football.
Well, he had plenty of time, and he was moving around in the pocket, but someone got caught for holding back around the 25.
On the offense, number 79, 10 yards from the previous spot, 3rd down.
Dozie Equiozo, the sophomore, 6'5", 320-pounder, guilty of the infraction right there at the top of your screen.
Yeah, he's right there, the big guy. You can't miss him. And it's a situation where he kept on holding. He started with the left hand, and he was on John Reiser trying to keep him off the quarterback, Chris Whitney.
3rd and 15 now for the Wildcats.
This is where you have to take advantage of your big play receiver. He's at the bottom of the screen, number 8, Norman White. And now it looks like Appalachian State may check out of that pressure and go heavy zone.
Whitney looks, fires, and it's complete. So good coverage that time by Jeremy Kimbrough. The sophomore linebacker was banged up. The ball was completed to Angelo Barbaro.
Mike, let's give credit to this Appalachian State defense. They're doing their job. They're going out and getting 3 and outs and really winning that field position battle. Now it's time for the offense or special teams right now to make a big play.
This one was partially deflected, I believe, at the line of scrimmage. But again, it takes a Villanova roll and just inside the 35-yard line with 6:27 to go. So Jerry Moore needs some offense. They need a big drive coming up, or one of those 2-minute scoring drives, trailing 28-10. Hero to flex some muscles now. Time is running out.
And he's wearing number 2, and he's playing quarterback. That's DeAndre Presley. He has to become a little bit more accurate and try to get the football out to his playmakers in the second half. In the first half, he was 9 of 15 for 139. But in the second half, he's missed Coco Hillary on the short passes to the outside. He's been high and outside a lot. He's only 1 for 2 for 5 yards in the second half, so he has to get it going. And the only way this offense is going to work is if he does it with his arm and his legs.
This year rushing for 1,017, throwing for over 2,200. There he's going to use his legs. He takes off right up the middle, found a seam. That's going to be a first down all the way up to the 45 as he picks up 11 yards.
There's an explosive play by the playmaker, DeAndre Presley. He had a career-high 264 rushing yards last week in that victory at home in the awful weather against Western Illinois. He'll have to do more of that in the second half.
Yeah, Robert Smith had a good point in the studio talking about that. As soon as this play is over and it's incomplete again, Hillary, and they want a penalty flag. No call on the play. Hillary definitely, I don't know if it was a catchable ball, John, but he was definitely, his progress impeded a little bit.
James Pitts, yeah, James Pitts did a nice job coming from inside out. I don't know if that ball was catchable, but Pitts is trying to gamble, getting on that inside shoulder. A little bump and a little grab by that left arm. You can see him turning Coco Hillary to the inside. Anytime a receiver turns around, well, all the time the receivers turn around like that when it's tight, but you definitely saw that left arm get inside of from James Pitts.
Robert Smith was actually talking about Dion Lewis at Cincinnati, but you talk about the snow and the 264 yards by Presley. And Robert Smith said it's a lot easier when it's snowing and the defenders are slipping and sliding. You know where you're going.
Yeah, that's absolutely. No one would know any better than Robert Smith. And Dion Lewis had a spectacular afternoon for the Panthers that day. And right now, Dion Presley has to continue to make plays, and he has to get Cadet involved. Remember in the first half, he had that long play up the middle, 46 yards. So he has to get all his playmakers and get them the football on the edge.
DeAndre Presley now with 5:44 to go to work with in the third. Another ball completed. Again, it's Klein. Klein still on his feet inside the 30-yard line. Matt Klein, 20, and he goes down at the 17-yard line. Finally dropped down by James Pitts. They pick up 28 yards, and the Mountaineers are on the move.
And that adds a spark to this offense. A good, accurate throw on time by Presley, and then it's all number 17, Matt Klein. He's going to make multiple players miss, and you love the athleticism to him cut back right here and gain another 4 or 5 yards. That's just a good job of effort, and that's what this offense needs to score on this drive.
This football team 30-4 in the last 34 games played in the month of November or December, but now they need some points. Presley makes his read, cuts inside the 15-yard line to the 14-yard line. 5:10 to go in the third quarter.
Well, on the year in the red zone, Appalachian State scoring at a clip of 81%. They've had 41 touchdowns. That's close to 70% of the time they're scoring touchdowns. So they're very efficient when they get into the red zone. And defensively for Villanova, they've been very stingy, only at 73%. So they do a good job. And today, Presley has to get it done in the red zone.
Looking, finding, touchdown, Ben Jordan. His 6th, 13th of his career for the junior out of Weddington, North Carolina. This one covers 14 yards.
We talked about being accurate on this drive. DeAndre Presley was accurate with his arm. A double move to the outside by the tight end. He goes out on the quick out and then turns it up the field wide open. In the seam is the tight end, Ben Jordan.
The terrace on for the point after right now. Inside 5 minutes. He drills it through. DeAndre Presley with another touchdown. He came in with 19 touchdowns, 6 picks, so that's 20 touchdown passes for him. But most importantly now, they get a little bit closer on the scoreboard.
Closing that gap, Appalachian State, they started with defense. They've been very stingy in the second half on that Villanova offense. No productivity from the playmakers on the outside, but offensively in this drive, the main guy, Presley, number 2, the quarterback, finds his tight end, Ben Jordan. It's a good job. The tight end's going to come out. He's set here. He's going to run here, out, and then straight up the field. It's a nice double move by the tight end and good timing. Protection, he had plenty of protection, but good timing right in that seam before defenders. Nobody can converge on the big tight end, Ben Jordan.
Well, a victory here today for the Mountaineers would mean not only a trip to the semifinals, but another 11-win season. That would be 6 straight seasons with 11 wins. And John, here's a question for you. I'll give you a couple of series or maybe a couple of plays to think about it. What does Appalachian State have in common with Ohio State and Virginia Tech? Just think about that, and we'll come back to you.
I might need a timeout or two.
You've got 3 left here in the second half.
Okay.
Terrace ready to kick off now. They close the gap to 28-17.
And Mike, you talked about that quick scoring drive again by Appalachian State. 6 plays, only taking a minute 48 off the clock.
Navarro at the 4-yard line. Up over the 20, dropped at the 22. A good stick on the kickoff coverage. 20-yard return. Brandon Greer makes the stop.
Well, a good job in timing. Watch the pass protection. It's just perfect. He has a great throwing lane, but the timing, he has a little hop in his step. He put that right foot in the ground and delivered on time to his tight end. And even if there was good coverage, you couldn't beat that throw because it was on time. And now the challenge goes to Villanova's offense that have not been able to move the football in the second half. So Chris Whitney and Matt Caesar have to make some plays to take this crowd out of the football game.
This Villanova football team watched Stephen F. Austin a week ago score on their first 3 possessions. But Villanova wound up winning at 54-24. Whitney's got to get rid of the football. So here's that pressure. Penalty flag dropped very late. It's Dan Wiley, the junior from Washington, Georgia over there. And he looked disgusted when he saw that yellow hanky hit the turf. So obviously he's going to disagree with the call.
We have personal foul, roughing the passer, number 9 on the defense, blow to the head, above the shoulders, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
DJ Smith is number 9, the senior linebacker out of Charlotte, Independence High School.
Well, this defense, Mike, can definitely feel it, and they're turning up the energy, and they're getting close to Whitney, and that's a shot.
Wow, I don't know.
You know what? I think the way he got the penalty, Mike, was maybe the way he threw that right shoulder up towards the helmet area or the head or the elbow. But the hit wasn't bad. I think it was the way he delivered the shot up above the shoulders.
Oh, the guy's 250 pounds.
Yeah, you're going to need more than that normally to knock him down. You're right.
Caesar in the Wildcat. There he goes, looking for the left side. They're seeing something on that left side, John. Of course, that touchdown, the 24-yarder in the first half, went to the right side, but lately he's been hitting that left side.
Wajelana, the tackle, and Klauser, the left guard, they do a good job of sealing that side. And the short side of the field is always a nice place to run the football. If you can get that seal and you can get an outside receiver blocking on the corner, there's a natural lane for either a running back or in this instance, the Wildcat quarterback / running back to get it upfield. And when you have that type of speed that Caesar possesses, you can get there with quickness.
Saw 71, Ben Ijalana, the only FCS player on the Altman Trophy watch list this year. Caesar has some running room. Caesar with a little cutback inside the 45-yard line. Boy, I read the scouting report on Presley. Guys were saying he makes you think you're going one way and he goes the other, but that time Caesar, everybody thought he was going to cut to the right. and he took it back to the left.
Well, again, a pressure blitz defensively by Appalachian State. They're going to every gap, but they missed one because number 4 was able to get through the tackle area and make a big play. You walk a fine line if you're Appalachian State. Yes, you want to bring pressure, but if you miss, that running back slash quarterback slash wide receiver can go a long way.
Caesar now 13 carries for 98 yards in the game. Twin receivers to the top of your screen, and they're going to run the football. That's going to be Aaron Ball, the senior, with the carry. Dan Wiley makes the stop defensively for Appalachian State. Inside 3 minutes now before we move to the fourth quarter.
Well, this is the type of drive, Mike, that Villanova wanted after the score by Appalachian State. They needed to take this football and go the distance, and they're doing it against pressure. And I'm not sure what that play calling sign is, Mike. I'm not up on the signs, but we've seen multiple teams this year do that.
I think they're going to run that thing that was on the top left.
Let's see if it works.
Whitney, he's a big guy, but he can move. He gets inside the 35-yard line. Sanders finally brings it down.
Well, that wasn't on that board. I think that was an ad lib by Chris Whitney. He made a good play, made something from nothing. And I don't know if that was Snoopy or that was the Phillies or the Rocket, but they definitely have to keep that on, the switch on instead of off, because this offense was really stonewalled at the beginning of this second half, and now a short third attempt for this Villanova offense.
Villanova 2 of 7 on third down. Caesar, Wildcat. That climbs over the pile, and he's going to move the chains. Had to get to the 32, and he's just shy of the 30-yard line, so number 4 does it again. Kimbrough makes the stop. On tonight, ESPN's Bowl Mania special will break down and rank all 35 bowl games and help viewers fill out their Bowl Mania game on ESPN.com and provide detailed analysis. Hosted by Kevin Nagandi, Ed Cunningham, Robert Smith on the set, Todd McShay on the big board. Bowl Mania special presented by Chevrolet Cruze on ESPN Sunday, 8:30 Eastern. Caesar picked up the first down. The quarterback Whitney back on the field, and they're going to keep it that left side as Barbaro opens up or finds the hole on the left side. As John was talking about, Ben Ijalana, 6'4", 320 senior. Brent Klauser, 6'2", 305. Both making their 52nd consecutive start.
And credit also on the outside, Norman White, the wide receiver. If you can't block in this offense, you don't get an opportunity to get on the field. But the two guys up front, they're doing a great job of sealing the inside edge on the short side, and then the wide receiver blocking downfield is Norman White.
Whitney, handoff, another big hole on the side. Plenty of room inside the 10-yard line. Now this time it's Barbaro with the carry.
And Mike, as you said, they're just wearing out that short side of the field. Norman White, again, a terrific block on the cornerback, Troy Sanders, that allowed his running back, Barbaro, to get an extra 5 or 6 yards. Now down in the red zone inside the 10-yard line. Villanova doing exactly what you would want to do with this last drive of the third quarter.
John, we talk about the left side, and we talk about Ben Ijalana. Mentioned the fact he's the only FCS player on the Outland Trophy watch list, expected to go in the 3rd or 4th round. Andy Talley says if someone was smart, they'd take him sooner. Whitney inside the 5. Stood up at the 4-yard line. So it'll be 2nd and goal. DJ Smith. You know, you talk about consistency. DJ Smith, number 9 on that defense for Appalachian State. He had 121 tackles as a freshman, 123 as a sophomore, 137 as a junior. He came in with 132. 140 on the year, 8 tackles right now. And right now, there's 15 minutes to go. The number 1 seed, Appalachian State, trailing 28-17. 4th quarter coming up around the corner. Back in downtown Boone. Not so many people roaming the streets. The big football game over here at the Rock. 28-17 now, Appalachian State. They need a big defensive stop here. First play of the 4th quarter coming up. Love to hold him to a field goal here, John, as Caesar now lines up in that wildcat position again. Caesar gets the snap, takes off, and almost found the end zone. Wow, DJ Smith made sure of that. He didn't. He smothered him at the 1 yard line, and maybe just inside the 1 yard line.
Two great players meeting at the 1 yard line. Matt Caesar showed you the speed to the short side, and then DJ Smith just explodes from that middle linebacker spot to stop Caesar at the 1 yard line. So now a good situation for Villanova. They've been really chewing off big chunks of yards going to that short side. I wouldn't doubt that they would try it again on 3rd and goal.
Smith now with 9 tackles. He's had double-figure tackles 9 of his last 10 games. Caesar again. Takes off, tries to cut it back in, and again, he got the ball to the right line, and they're going to call the touchdown. There's the signal. They're going to give Caesar his 2nd rushing touchdown. DJ Smith had him, his 3rd rushing touchdown. Smith had him, and Caesar just lunged for the goal line. And Caesar limped off the field. That was a great effort by him going to the short side.
On the field is a touchdown.
So with 14-12 to go in the ballgame, so much for holding him to the field goal.
We're going to see the short side. He wanted to go outside and use his speed. The only question is that left knee down before the ball crosses the plane of the goal line? It's tough to tell from that angle, but the ball definitely crossed. The question is, did the knee touch around the 1 yard line before that ball crosses the plane?
Indisputable video evidence, but after you explained it just now, I'm looking at that replay. I'm not sure if that was a touchdown. I mean, he got the ball out. All you got to do is get to the front of that white line.
Let's take a look at the knee. The knee's going to touch right there. The left knee touches right there, and I'm not sure the ball was across the plane of the goal line at that point. I think it's inside the 1, but I don't think it's a touchdown.
Better look at that angle right there. Well,
but again, you have to have that evidence to overturn. It was called a touchdown on the field. This is the only look that I can see where you might be able to tell that left knee touches, where you really can tell. You can't assume that it touches, and you can't assume that because you can't see it. You can't see it behind the black jerseys of Smith and 33 Jeremy Kimbrough.
So what you're saying is they're not going to find the indisputable video evidence.
I don't think they can overturn this call because you can't tell if his knee was on the ground. It looks like logically to us that it would have to be, but you can't see it on the video.
Will the 34 points stay on the board? 34-17 in the 4th quarter. Again, we go back to the opening game of the season, where Appalachian State erased a 21-point deficit in the 4th.
After further review, the play stands as called.
Touchdown.
It's a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that was a great effort on the outside by Matt Caesar, but Villanova definitely got away with that because you could assume that that knee was down, but you just couldn't see it on the video replay. So they take advantage of answering a score with a score, exactly the way they started the football game, to regain that cushion.
Well, Caesar, after missing 7 games, played sparingly in that win against Delaware. Last week, 11 catches, 128 yards and a touchdown. 9 carries, 68 yards. Now today, here against the #1 seed, 3 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown, a receiving touchdown. Inside Kid Brewer Stadium. Now here's the game summary. 35-17. Matt Caesar, 207 all-purpose yards, 5 touchdowns. Boy, I guess he is the real deal, huh? Everything is advertised.
Everything is advertised. He's thrown a couple. He's run a couple. He's caught a couple. It's just been a great job and a great effort by Matt Caesar. But the thing that surprises you about the summary, Appalachian State, they're averaging over 225 yards on the ground this season, only 105 yards of rushing yards. So it's a situation that Appalachian State has really been, they started strong, but this defense from Villanova had the answers this afternoon.
Yako with the kick, and this one will go out of bounds. Penalty flag is dropped, and they'll have to do it all over again if they prefer to do so.
Legal procedure for a kick out of bounds. Appalachian State will take the ball at the 40-yard line. First down.
Why not, huh? Take good field position. Let's head back to the studio right now and check in with Ryan Burr. Ryan? All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. Interesting 14-0 game there, considering it was 33-31 Wofford the first time they met. As you take a look at the bracket, the winner of this game will take on the winner of North Dakota State and Eastern Washington. And Delaware moved ahead last night with that win over New Hampshire, and they will meet the winner of that Georgia Southern Wofford game in the semifinals. The national championship game this year, January 7th at Pizza Hut Park in Frisco, Texas. And now this young man, number 2, DeAndre Presley, says he loves to write. Someday he'd like to be a fictional writer because he has great creativity. We see what he can create now with 14 minutes and 6 seconds to go. Looks left, comes back right, and this one is complete at the top. That's Blake Elder, his second catch of the day.
Well, that was a better throw by Presley. That time he got his feet set underneath him and delivered an accurate football. Most of the time this afternoon when he's missed, he's been high, and it's been a situation where he hasn't been as accurate as he had coming into the game, completing over 62% of his passes before today. So he'll have to become more accurate with 13:35 and counting left in this football game.
Double tight end now. Inside 13.5 minutes, had to get right to the 50-yard line, and he might have been stopped just shy. DeAndre Presley in his first year as the starting quarterback is a finalist for the Walter Payton Award, which is the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy here on the FCS level. And he'll be making the trip along with Matt Barr, the quarterback from Western Illinois, and Jeremy Moses, the quarterback from Stephen F. Austin. Jeremy Moses only had 4 picks all season long, and he had 3 last week against this Villanova defense. Fourth down, they're 0 for 2 today on fourth down. And Cadet gets the call. This time they're going to move the chains. Terrence Thomas makes the stop. DeAndre Presley. You know, he threw his first pick this year. He came in, John, with 19 touchdowns, 6 INTs. The first INT didn't come until the 8th game of the season.
Well, you'd like to see him make a play right now on first down. After getting it on fourth down, go down and take a shot downfield. 4
wideouts right down the middle, and defensive play made by Pitts. Now this crowd here at Appalachian State wanted a penalty. They thought Pitts was hanging over his back. The intended receiver was Quick.
Well, that's the second time that James Pitts has been able to keep that off arm on a receiver and not be called for it. That time Brian Quick trying to get down on the skinny post, and it's a good throw, but you can see the coverage from Pitts coming from the backside, from behind the receiver. That right arm looks like it turns the receiver again, but he wasn't called for it. That's just a good aggressive play on the edge.
Presley goes upstairs again. Short pass. Moore on the receiving end. And Devin Moore gets down close to the 40-yard line before driven out by Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson, incidentally, of the 3 fumbles against Stephen F. Austin, he caused 2 of them. So Villanova with 12:22 to go. Trying to get back to that semifinal game. Last year in the semifinals, Montana knocked off Appalachian State, and then Villanova beat Montana by 2 to claim Andy Talley's first national championship.
The pressure by Villanova right here. This is an opportunity for a big play. They can check into Quick on the outside.
Cadet gets inside the 40. They get to about the 39. Looks like he picked up the first down. John Dempsey making the stop defensively for the Wildcats.
I think Appalachian State needs to pick up the rhythm and tempo a little bit, Mike. Down 35-17 with under 12 minutes left to go in this football game. They need to get a little bit more of a sense of urgency and get in and out of that no huddle a little bit quicker. Get to the line of scrimmage, get it called from the sideline, and start running some more offensive plays.
Well, Presley working with another first down now. Going for broke. Looking for Quick. He's got it. Touchdown. Brian Quick beating James Pitts for the long scoring strike.
On time and accurate that time. DeAndre Presley throws a strike and he gets it to his big play receiver. That's just a good job of securing the football. He goes up and gets it over James Pitts, who's been his nemesis all afternoon. The ball looks like it turns on the way down right there, but he controls the football and it's called a touchdown.
And it travels 38 yards, the scoring strike does. Whistles.
They may take another look at this, Mike.
Well, John, you need 1 foot down. I mean, we're pretty far. But it definitely looked like he had at least 1 foot down.
I don't think the question is whether he comes down with the football
Juggle
there.
the ball.
There's the right foot. I'm not sure if he controls it to the ground. Watch Pitts get that arm in there, and now watch the ball move once it comes to his body.
Oh. Well, that's going to be a tough call. Well, Pitts did a nice job of trying to jar it loose.
He
right?
did. He never
in,
gave up. He got that left arm in on the football that makes the football move.
Oh,
but at the same time, Brian Quick is still in control of the football.
I think Quick did a great job. They both did a good job doing what they had to do, but I think Quick controlled it.
Villanova would like to challenge this ruling on the field that there was a completed catch for a touchdown.
All right, so Andy Talley's going to use up his challenge now. Even if they lost a timeout, though, they're up 35-23, although it's a lot closer with plenty of time to go.
We've had this conversation numerous times throughout the season this year, and we've talked to officials about it. And it's all about controlling the football to the ground, about taking it down. Now, right there, that's a touchdown. Okay, he has control of the football, but Pitts doesn't give up on it. And the ball moves as he's going to the ground. Now, is it different in the end zone than on the field of play? Once you secure the football and it crosses the plane and it's a touchdown right there?
After further review, the receiver maintained control of the ball, 1 foot on the ground. He went to the ground, maintained control. Ruling on the field is confirmed, touchdown.
So Brian Quick has his 9th receiving touchdown this year, and Appalachian State's that much closer.
That was a great effort on the outside by Brian Quick to really stave off James Pitts, because he continued on the play, but he was able to maintain control. That's a nice job and a quick strike by Appalachian State.
Terrace right down the middle once again. So Brian Quick, 6'5", 220 pounds, showing some strength, making sure he holds on to that football. And now we're a little bit closer, 35-24. The NCAA FCS Championship presented on ESPN by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We'll pick you up. Daniel Boone Gardens here in Boone, North Carolina. 35-24. Daniel Boone's team coming back. 11:46 to go before they put this one on the books, and Brian Quick now pulls in his 9th receiving touchdown, and James Pitts, as you mentioned, John, both did a great job. Pitts defensively trying to jar the ball loose, and Quick doing a great job of making sure he didn't.
We talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, this is going to be a physical game, and it looks like it might come down to the wire.
Torres with the kick. The borrow at about the 6-yard line. All the way up over the 30-yard line. Still on his feet at the 45-yard line. Put the ball on the carpet. And Appalachian State has new life. 11:33 to go. Yard return by Barbaro, and he puts it on carpet.
Barbaro just was trying to elude the kicker, and then it gets stripped from behind. That's just a great job of effort on the outside by the special teams. Andrew Peacock strips the football, and Carl Anderson jumps on the football, and now Appalachian State has the crowd, their sideline, and all the momentum back wearing black and gold.
First Villanova turnover. Villanova came into the game plus 12, Appalachian State plus 11. There's Presley now trying to find some running room, and nice job of stretching it out defensively by that Villanova defense. John Dempsey making the initial contact for the Wildcats.
We talked about at the beginning of this third quarter that Appalachian State had to turn it up defensively. Well, right now, Villanova and their defense comes out in a change of possession situation with the ball on their side of the 50. They have to try to keep points off the scoreboard.
Presley immediately. Coco Hillary is drilled by Eric Loper, but Hillary pulls it in. And Hillary kind of is probably thinking it's about time you brought it down a little bit, because Presley's been high on all of his passes.
I think that one he may have wanted to go a little bit higher. He had to pay the price for that, but now a third down and long situation for Andre Presley. Can he do it with his arm or his legs?
Little pump fake, going for broke again, looking for Quick, and this one could have been picked off. Ronnie Akins, intended receiver, Brian Quick, and Presley just overshot him by a good amount that time, John.
Well, big question now, Mike, on 4th down. Do they play field position, or are they going to go ahead with 10:34 left to go in this game?
Well, the big turnover on the kickoff return by Bavaro. They have to get all the way down to the 34-yard line. And the ball is resting at the 40. So they need 6 yards for the first down. Presley fires. They're not going to get it. Caught by Tony Washington. That's his first catch. And James Pitts on the coverage for Villanova. Washington caught it, couldn't turn his body, and he was driven out of bounds.
Well, as a freshman and a young receiver, Tony Washington's going to learn on that particular 4th down play. You have to get the necessary yards. See how he rounds it back to the football? If he takes it down another yard, he's going to have the first down if he catches and falls down or runs out of bounds. So that's, you don't want to learn at 10:28 left to go in this football game.
Well, tonight one college football player will transcend greatness and become a legend. In Oregon's sensational sophomore Michael James bring home the game's most prestigious award. It'll be Stanford's Andrew Luck or Boise State's Kellen Moore. Auburn's dynamic dual threat Cam Newton. The Heisman Trophy presentation is presented by Nissan on ESPN tonight, 8 Eastern. 10.5 minutes to go. Wildcats would love to eat some clock now. The Mountaineers showing pressure at the line of scrimmage. Ball with the carry. Slips through a hole, and he could be off to the races. He's inside the 30, 20, 10, and he's not going to make it. Finally dropped it off the 5-yard line by Mark Legree. 60 yards on the play, John Congemi, and again the Wildcats are knocking on the door.
This is unbelievable pressure by Appalachian State, but when you bring pressure, you're going to leave a crease. 9 players in black jerseys were in between the tackles. That time, Aaron Ball was able to elude the initial pressure, get to the outside, and get to the 5-yard line.
Touchdown saving tackle by Legree, the only FCS player on the Bronco Nagurski watch list this year. And they keep the Cats out of the end zone. Whitney inside the 5, touchdown. Not sure what happened there, John.
Touchdown Wildcats.
Here we got a quarterback, is 6'2", 230, 235. Some say 245, and he kind of slipped through a hole.
That's unbelievable. Chris Whitney looked like he was about a 190-pound tailback that time. He extends the play on the option. You got him, I got him, nobody has him. He goes between Fletcher, and it looked like Troy Sanders on the edge. That's just a great athletic play from a big quarterback. And you talked about Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know if Ben could do that on the edge.
Well, it's the first Villanova touchdown today without the involvement of Caesar. Hey, it's a team effort, right?
That's right.
Inside 10 minutes, 9:51 to go. Let's take another look at this one, JC.
Well, the big guy, Chris Whitney, the quarterback, does a great job of extending the play. He fakes the pitch and gets in for the score.
Back in Boone, the #1 seeded Mountaineers of Appalachian State. Time is of the essence now, 42-24. Not much more work for DeAndre Presley. The App offense. Matt Caesar got to, Caesar kind of sat back and watched that time.
That was pretty nice for Matt that time. He retaped his ankle on the sideline and let his teammates get it done on that drive.
153 rushing yard advantage now. 4 touchdowns rushing, and they've gone over 200 yards 8 times. 6 in the last 7 games for the Wildcats. So they're hitting on all cylinders. 1-6 in playoff road games, and they come into Boone, where these Mountaineers have won 55 or 58 games, and for the second straight time they kick it out of bounds. So we'll wait the call, but I'm sure App State will take it on the 40-yard line.
Have the ball at the 40-yard line, first step.
Well, this week on ESPN's Monday Night Football, Ray Lewis leads the Ravens against Andre Johnson of the Houston Texans. Ravens, Texans on ESPN's Monday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins 7 Eastern. Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. Speaking of countdown, John, 9:51 to go. Wildcats are over on the sidelines, counting down every second right now. 8-14, riddled by injuries. Not to be redundant, but it's very difficult to come into this house and win.
Not many people do it in the regular season, and especially in the playoffs. And right now, you have to find a way. If you're Appalachian State offensively, you've been able to have the quick playability and quick scoreability. You have to be able to take it down and hit a big play on the outside to Quick or Hillary, or make somebody miss if you're dead in the backfield. But DeAndre Presley has to pull all the right buttons, or push for all the right buttons right now.
Presley hits his receiver Moore up in the flat, fighting for some extra yardage. But again, with that clock ticking down to a 9:32, time might be more important than 1 or 2 yards. They need the big play. Inside Kid Brewer Stadium in Boone, North Carolina, the home of the Mountaineers of Appalachian State. They have the top-seeded Mountaineers take on last year's champions, Villanova, in the quarterfinals of the FCS Championship, along with John Congemi, former Pitt quarterback. I'm Mike Gleason. Great to have you with us today. A lot of excitement. Cadet, tough throw. It would have been a tough catch, and it falls incomplete.
And on third down, Appalachian State has not been very successful. Only 3 of 13 on third down. So it's a situation where now head coach Jerry Moore, what do you do on 4th and a long 8?
Chris Whitney, the senior quarterback, patrolling the sidelines, and Jerry Moore, longtime head coach for these Mountaineers, watching the clock, hoping to get some offense, as Presley has 4 wide receivers on the field now. Another 4th down situation, comes up firing, has another 1st down. That's Quick. Hits in coverage.
Presley's pass complete to number 8, Brian Quick.
Well, that was a bullet to the short side of the field, and I know that Brian Quick feels that. He got hit on the play again by James Pitts, and he doesn't look 100%.
This coaching staff for Villanova said they like to play physical, and they like to play so the offense doesn't want to come back on the field. But they say, you know, App State's a very physical football team as well.
Well, defensive coordinator Mark Reardon, when we talked to him this week, he talked about, you know, we're not going to change who we are just because we're playing Appalachian State. We're the champs. We're the guys that have the crown, and we're going to play fast, and we're going to play physical. And if you can't tackle on Saturday, you're not going to play, because you cannot afford to miss guys like DeAndre Presley and Brian Quick and Coco Hillary in space.
Well, when the weekend started, there were 3 teams from the CAA alive, 3 teams from the Southern Conference still alive. Delaware eliminated New Hampshire last night. And now will App State be eliminated here this afternoon? This one's complete. Again, Pitts in coverage. And Blake Elder pulled in his 3rd catch of the afternoon, the senior from Burns.
Mike, I've been impressed with James Pitts on the edge. He's been doing a nice job of being physical, and he's just, you know, past breakups. He's been around. He's been multiple times, close to 10 plays on the edge for Villanova.
Presley tries to thread the needle. It's hanging up there, and I don't see any yellow handkerchief, John, because the ball was batted up in the air. But I'll tell you, the receiver was trying to come down with it. Brad Hardy, the backup tight end, and he couldn't because the defender had his arms pinned.
They were locked up around the 35-yard line. And that'll bring up another 3rd down situation for the Mountaineers.
It was Jacob Wade, the backup linebacker, defending that time for Villanova. Presley fires a bullet. One-handed stab, but it's going to be incomplete. Well, a nice effort by Tony Washington. That would have been his 2nd catch of the afternoon. True freshman from High Point, North Carolina. Story of the afternoon here. Matt Caesar. Career high 4 touchdowns. 3 rushing. And right now the Mountaineers playing some catch-up football. Coco Hillary tries to spin away from the defender, and it's not going to happen. Nice effort. Eric Loper had him by the ankle, and he wasn't going to let go.
Well, you love the effort on 4th down. He secures the catch for the 1st down, and he's trying to get more. Coco Hillary's been open all afternoon, but the ball hasn't found him a lot of times this afternoon. That time a strike on target, but you love the effort from Hillary, the senior out of South Carolina. Does a great job.
So another 1st down to work with, and again the bullet goes out of bounds. James Quick, Brian Quick, the intended receiver. Let's check back in with Ryan Burr in the studio. All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. Boy, Marquette's, Wisconsin, that's usually a good basketball game. And, of course, Ashton Gibbs, one of the better players in the Big East Conference now. Cadet was the intended receiver on that last play. And the Mountaineers will be facing another third down, 3rd and 10 for DeAndre Presley, one of the 3 finalists for the Walter Payton Award. Fires it. This one's complete again. It's Coco Hillary. So Hillary has the hot hand as of late. Now Hillary came into the game 131 yards shy of the 2,000 mark.
That's another good job by the quarterback, Presley, being athletic and using his legs to buy some time and be accurate with the football.
Fires again. This one's complete. Elder. He lunges and reaches much like Matt Caesar, but to no avail. Pitts in coverage that time for Villanova, but they're going to be inside that 1-yard line or very close to it unless he went out of bounds.
That was a great effort on the outside by Blake Elder, trying to stretch the football, but it looked like his foot just touched out of bounds around the 3-yard line.
Presley looks sharp on this drive, but again, the clock not a friend of theirs right now. Presley with the pitch. Cadets, and what a defensive play. Fred Maldonado coming up from the secondary, and he read that beautifully.
Well, Mike, we've said it. James Pitts on the outside. That time, Fred Maldonado. You tackle in space against Appalachian State, or you can't play defense, and that's exactly what Maldonado does. The senior from Westchester, PA, comes up in the open field and makes a big-time tackle and keeps the ball carrier in bounds.
2nd and goal now for the Mountaineers. Inside 7 minutes to go. Presley tries to turn it on, but he can't outrun. They get inside the 10. John Dempsey coming up, making his 8th tackle of the afternoon.
Well, Dempsey, they list him as a strong safety, but they love to creep him up around the line of scrimmage because he plays a lot like a linebacker. 6 foot 215. He'll come up and pressure the run. 3 tackles for loss today.
Great job by Dempsey because Presley's got some wheels. Usually he's the fastest guy on the team on the field. And now we're going to be facing a 4th and goal situation. The intended receiver was Blake Elder. 6:17 to go. 42-24. Villanova on top. So Presley's numbers: 23, 42, 312. A couple of touchdowns, no picks. Not bad numbers.
Not bad numbers. He's been completing over 62% of his passes on the season. It just hasn't been a sharp day for him, but the numbers don't really reflect that.
I said not bad numbers. I take numbers like that.
Yeah, I'll stand in that line as well.
Presley, this is a 4th and goal play. Fires, and it's going to be picked off. Maldonado in the end zone. And if Whitney's touchdown wasn't the dagger, that might have been, John.
Yeah, again, pressure by Lewis off the edge that really takes Presley outside the pocket. He's just trying to make a play on 4th down to his tight end.
DeAndre Presley has his 20th touchdown of the season, but now his 7th INT. Maldonado with the INT, and that could be it for App State. Former Pitt quarterback Mike Gleason here, and there's a quarterback that looks dejected, over 300 yards passing, but that last INT, that might have been the dagger. Now is the operative word now is eat clock, right?
Well, too many 3rd and 4th down conversions. He was just trying to make a play in the end zone, tried to fit it into a tight spot, but Maldonado came up with the interception.
This is Ball, the senior from Los Angeles. The head's still popping down there. Now, last year in the championship game, as we flash back, Matt Caesar ran for 159 yards and a couple of touchdowns and had another 68 through the air. And Andy Talley had his first national championship, 270 all-purpose yards for Caesar, and he was definitely the man of the hour here this afternoon.
And it looked like he was still running it last year to that short side of the field, trying to get behind those big offensive linemen.
And what a story if you missed it in the first half. Last year, after winning the most outstanding player of the national championship, he was hitting a .443 on the Villanova baseball team, and he ended his season. They took a break from the season to donate bone marrow to a young girl, a 1.5-year-old. basically saved his life. In the summer, hit .347 for the Chicago Cubs, and big decision coming up for him. Cubs paid him $100,000 to play baseball. They said February 10th of this year they'll give him another $500,000 if he quits football. But John, as you mentioned in the first half, his heart is set on playing in the National Football League.
Well, that's his dream. He wants to be an NFL player, and you could tell with all the athletic ability that he has in the slot, being able to throw the football, being able to be a factor in returns, he's going to get that look this year at the Senior Bowl, and that'll be very important, and that'll tell him whether he'll be able to be drafted high enough in the draft to stay with the NFL dream.
Angelo Barbaro in the Wildcat that time gets a direct snap. You know, when Matt Caesar was born, I read a story, the penalty flags now, the frustration starts to overflow down on the field. His dad said when he was, the doctor pulled him out the day of his birth, he said he had calf muscles and he had kind of biceps. He said, what do we have here? Matt Caesar, when he left T-ball his first 3 games in Little League, he threw 3 no-hitters. They moved him back, and one of the mothers wanted to check his birth certificate. And so he's been a star his whole life.
We have offsetting dead ball fouls. Number 54, Appalachian State. Number 71, Villanova. Those penalties offset.
Matt Caesar, you know, you'll appreciate this because you're a great golfer. He was playing golf with a buddy, and he didn't play a lot of golf, I guess. And so I need to get a hang of it. He shot a 67 on the front 9, and he got a hang of it. You know what he shot on the back 9? 40.
I was just saying, probably in the 40s. Look at him play football, you can tell. Now, he's just been a spectacular athlete his entire career, and he just did such a nice job today getting the rhythm with Villanova early in this football game, being able to throw it, being able to catch it, and then being able to run it out of that Wildcat.
Let's take a look at the Reese's perfect play. And again, Matt Caesar involved on this one.
Absolutely. From the Wildcat position, he was able to sprint to his right and throw a pass down the middle of the field that Norman White made a spectacular catch and run on for a touchdown. This was not how you draw it up, but exactly how you would like it executed, and they turned it into 6 points.
Well, App State will get the football back. Cadet wants no part of that one. It takes a Villanova roll down to the 25-yard line. And we check back in to the studio. Here's Ryan Burr. All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. We have 4:22 here in Boone, North Carolina, and the top-seeded Mountaineers of Appalachian State trailing 42-24. Presley, it's Moore out of the backfield, and it's complete over the 30 to the 32-yard line. Eric Loper with another stop, and he's had a big game in that cornerback spot.
All the defensive secondary guys have been able to come up and tackle in space, and I thought that's been a big difference. Early in the game, Appalachian State had a few big chunk yardage plays, but after that, they've done a nice job of tackling in space.
Coco Hillary again. He takes a shot. It's Terrence Thomas coming over from the linebacker spot.
Coco Hillary needs to catch that football and get out of bounds.
Yeah.
Stop this clock.
3:37, clock is running. And it's an uphill battle now for Appalachian State. This is Moore again. He is trying to get out of bounds. Good job by Terrence Thomas again, making sure he doesn't get there. You know, I hate to bring this up, John, but we were here 2 years ago when Armani Edwards, the quarterback, the only two-time Walter Payton Award winner, was hobbling around. They got beat by Richmond. So they're not going to let us come back here. We're bad luck.
I think our pitchers are going to be up all over this place. Yeah. You see these guys delay the game a day.
There's a little pump fake, and this time they got out of bounds. It's complete to B.J. Frazier. Presley, one of the 3 finalists, and some of the big names that have won that award, the Walter Payton Award, the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy at the FCS level. Steve McNair, Brian Finnernan and Brian Westbrook, both from Villanova. Tony Romo, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And, of course, Armani Edwards, the only two-time winner.
Well, Mike, you talk about DeAndre Presley and his accomplishments. You know, last week he had a career-high 264 yards rushing against Western Illinois, but he's only the fourth person in FCS history to rush for 1,000 yards and pass for 2,000 yards in the same season. Armani Edwards did it in 2006 right here. Brett Neely for Texas State did it in 05, and then David Dinkins for Morehead State in 99. So he's in elite company.
And he fires over the middle. This one deflected. Again, the intended receiver was B.J. Frazier, the senior from North Carolina. Kirkland, the middle linebacker, got his hand on that one. You know, we mentioned the fact Armani Edwards, the only two-time winner of the Walter Payton Award, John. He's the only player in NCAA Division I history, FCS or FBS, to pass for 9,000 and rush for 4,000 yards. Now, of course, a member of the Carolina Panthers. Coming up next, the DirecTV SEC Big East Invitational, Tennessee and Pittsburgh. 13th ranked team against the number 3 team in the country. College hoops on ESPN. This one's complete. It's Klein inside the 40-yard line, down near the 35. Dempsey again on the stop for Villanova. Gain of 12. So Villanova, 8-14. They'll move to 9-4. And they will meet the winner of the Eastern Washington, North Dakota State. North Dakota State in the postseason for the first time since moving up from Division II. And this one's complete to Frazier. He gets out of bounds to stop the clock.
And Mike, this is a Villanova team that 3 weeks ago was sitting at 6-4. And just a dynamic win against #1 Delaware at the time to earn a spot in this field to even get to this point. So Andy Talley, their head coach, has to be proud of the way they came out and played this afternoon.
And again, it's Frazier. It's Pitts knocking out of bounds. Pitts with a 12 tackle afternoon now for the Wildcats of Villanova in that cornerback spot. He's only a junior. He has 9 career INTs. You know, we mentioned the fact this team will go to 9-4, the defending champs. Earlier in the show, they lost to, they lost to Rhode Island on November 6th. The Rams did not have an offensive touchdown. This is Klein. Gets down to the 20-yard line. Then they were upset at home against New Hampshire. And it was their first home loss since losing to James Madison back in 2008. James Madison was the #1 team in the country, and that came down to a last-second Hail Mary. So after those back-to-back losses, they had to go to Delaware. The Blue Hens were #1 in the country, and they knocked them off in overtime to get into the postseason. And right now, they are rolling. And John, we mentioned it earlier that the offensive coordinator for the football team, Villanova, Sam Venuto, says, I don't believe we're ever hitting on all cylinders, but right now they look pretty close.
Well, they've done a nice job of just taking advantage of the playmakers that they have. Matt Caesar did an awesome job of moving around from wildcat to wide receiver to running back, getting involved in returns. But I thought Chris Whitney was a key today, as well as Norman White making big plays.
Presley looking for Coco Hillary down inside the 5-yard line, and it falls incomplete.
And you can't say enough about what Villanova did defensively. After a few big plays to start this football game, I thought they did an awesome job of pressuring the quarterback, flushing the quarterback right and left, and really playing physical. We talked about, you know, how physical can you be today? The more physical team was going to win. Well, I think it had a lot to do with physical play, but it had a lot to do with making plays offensively, and the big plays, more big plays were made by Villanova.
Presley facing another 4th down situation, finds his man, and it's dropped. B.J. Frazier or Tony Washington make that, had it, and he dropped it. Minute 29 to go, 42-24. Right now, let's check in with Sean McDonough in Pittsburgh. All right, thanks a lot, Sean. And there's a $1:29 to go before they put this one on the books. And there's Matt Caesar. You know, John, you talk about that Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, where he's going to get all the feedback from the NFL. And then he has a week to decide if he's going to quit football or take that $500,000, continue his baseball career. Gil Brandt, the former executive of the Dallas Cowboys, compares him to Jordan Shipley. A lot of people compare him to Wes Welker. What do you see with him right now?
Well, he does a great job of getting in and outside of routes, and I think when you take a look at this bracket, they're going to move on and play the winner of Eastern Washington and North Dakota State. I think Matt Caesar brings a lot to the table, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the table no matter who they play moving on. And it's a situation where he just makes plays. He's got the speed, he's got burst, he's got that athleticism, and he's good in space. He's good when you line him up in the slot. He's good when you direct a snap to him in Wildcat, and he can be a factor on kick returns.
On the other side of that coin, Tim Olkin, the Chicago Cubs director of amateur and professional scouting, described Caesar's play last summer as borderline incredible. Hit .347, first year ever playing with the wood bats. He said he broke about 7 bats, but had a 21-game hitting streak and played at 3 different places.
And I know he can get from home plate to first with some quickness.
That should be the final play, and Villanova moving back into the semifinals of the FCS championship. Andy Talley with the championship last year. They're taking another step, and they will meet the winner of the Eastern Washington and North Dakota State game. Delaware moving ahead last night, and right now Georgia Southern's beating Wofford. Your final thoughts, Ken?
Well, 2 coaches that really respect each other, physical football game, but I just thought Villanova did an awesome job making plays offensively and defensively.
Final score, Villanova 42-24 for Appalachian State. For John Conjemi, our entire ESPN crew, Mike Gleason. Coming up next, the DirecTV SEC Big East Invitational. Number 13 Tennessee taking on Pittsburgh.